is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass. Step into our world at UFCFightPass.com.
You are looking at the fight capital of the world, and we are inside T-Mobile Arena, the site of the 2024 UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It is International Fight Week in Las Vegas. This is Extra Rounds, and we are live right here on UFC Fight Pass. Hey, everybody, I'm TJ DeSantis along with Pearl Gonzalez. Yes, you didn't click on an old rerun of Extra Rounds. Pearl Gonzalez is back. I worked hard to get rid of you the first time, and now you're back in my life. Following me around again, Pearl. Welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be back. And you can't get rid of me, TJ. I thought you knew that by now.
I know. I've been trying for years. But it's good to have you back for the busiest UFC week of the year. It is International Fight Week. We are in the belly of the beast inside T-Mobile Arena. This class, I say it each year, it seems to get more and more talented. And on paper, Pearl, when you look at some of the UFC stars that are going in this year, I mean, it's a who's who, and obviously they're all Hall of Famers for a reason. We get to celebrate a bunch of legendary careers here tonight.
Absolutely, and how cool is it to kind of have both Wanderlei and Shogun, a protege of Wanderlei's, come in, and then you see Joanna Jedrzejczyk in here, one of the first woman GOATs in our sport that really helped take off and kick off the striking in the women's division, and I think this is just a beautiful, of course we cannot forget Frankie Edgar, one of those simple men, the most common man that you can everybody can relate to. So it's an honor to be here and witness these athletes get their rewards.
Yeah, they're just due, really, in a lot of ways. And, of course, it all leads up to UFC 303 Saturday night in this same building. A phenomenal fight card headed your way. Alex Pereira going to defend his title against Yuri Prochazka. But you mentioned some of the Hall of Fame class. Let's talk about them. Joanna Jedrzejczyk, top of mind for you for good reason. Really a trailblazer in a lot of ways. Was the second ever UFC strawweight champion. Obviously you're fighting pretty much at the same time that Joanna was. Was she someone who inspired you to, push your combat sports career?
Absolutely. I think that what Joanna did for the sport was she came in, it was right at the time when Ronda was huge and a star, but she came in and she was dominant, but in such a vicious way. I mean, she came in, her striking, she really set herself apart with her striking, and I really believe that is what kicked off and kick-started all women divisions with the striking and really helped us evolve in such a great way, especially in the stand-up area.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about, what she did on the feet. I remember her title-clinching victory against Carla Esparza. It was downright terrifying what she did to Carla, who was the best in the world at that time. And, you think about, fighters in the UFC, 115 pounds, really the smallest it gets. And for Joanna Jedrzejczyk, she might have been small in stature, but terrifying, a huge force to reckon with. And, pound for pound, might have been the scariest fighter, for her size when she was in her prime, because she was a tough fighter to deal with, and a lot of athletes that stood in front of her, well, they didn't stay standing for long. They usually ended up flat on the mat and trying to count stars, if you will.
Yeah, and you know what I thought was so special about her? She came in truly as a specialist, as a striking specialist, but dominated in getting back up to her feet and being able to stop the takedowns. And if you go back and you watch her fight, she was incredibly phenomenal. I mean, there's so many words I can use to describe her, but she was so good at understanding her strengths and utilizing them to the best of her ability. And I think she really set herself apart and really showcased, kind of like what we have this weekend here with Alex Pereira that's coming in, a striking specialist that they can dominate as long as they really understand what is necessary to hone and earn and learn in their respective divisions.
Yeah, it is International Fight Week, and I think about the international flavor with Joanna. Let's not forget that she was the first ever Polish champion in UFC history, defended that title 5 different times, and it was always in the mix, too. Even when she wasn't the champion, she always was right around the corner for like a #1 contender type of figure. She was always in the upper echelon. If you will. And tonight we celebrate Joanna champion as she goes into the UFC Hall of Fame, part of the class of 2024. Another fighter to keep your eye on. You kind of called him the everyman, a blue-collar worker from Toms River, New Jersey. The answer, Frankie Edgar, getting the nod. Frankie, I mean, he was always must-see TV when he competed. And he was a guy that had, like, a run among, multiple weight classes. Whether it was 55. He might be one of the greatest 55ers of all time. We all talk about, Khabib Nurmagomedov, but, Frankie for a while, I think, was a strong candidate for that number 1 spot at 155 pounds, an 8-time Fight of the Night winner, and that sort of goes back to that blue-collar mentality. It didn't matter who was in his way. He was going to bring his lunch pail to work. He was going to go to work, and more often than not, Pearl, he put on a show that stole, extra 50 G's on the night, getting a fight of the night bonus usually.
Yes, he did, and I think he had a total of almost 8 hours inside the octagon throughout his career. And one of the most beautiful things about Frankie was he walked at his fight weight, and it's kind of unheard of in our sport. Typically, you cut 10, 20 pounds to fight at whatever weight that you're fighting at, and he didn't. He walked at the weight, so he typically came in the smaller opponent and showed what hard work, what grit, what perseverance looked like at a smaller man in his division.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I mean, 155 pounds, walking around at that weight, going up against guys that were probably walking at 170 or higher. And not to mention, I mean, when he's fighting a guy like Benson Henderson inside the octagon, Benson probably weighed 165 plus, where Frankie was, like you said, just sort of walking in on weight. And you kind of wonder, if the lighter weight classes had been there earlier for Frankie, if maybe he wouldn't have, fought his way to a bantamweight championship or at least 145-pound championship. You look at his fights with Jose Aldo, he was very competitive with Jose. So we're talking about a guy who was one of the greatest at 155, but kind of had a Hall of Fame run in other weight classes as well.
Oh, my goodness. He was the top 5 in 155, 145, and 135, and that just shows how talented and skilled this man truly is, and how serious he took it, regardless of the weight. He knew and figured out a way to find his success.
Absolutely, and I think if you're not a fan of Frankie Edgar, I don't know why you're not. I think Frankie's a universal fighter that everyone can agree on. That's the guy. He's always fun to watch, and tonight we honor him, part of this 2024 class here at the UFC Hall of Fame. It is Extra Rounds. I'm TJ DeSantis. She's Pearl Gonzalez, live inside T-Mobile Arena in the belly of the beast, smack dab in the center of International Fight Week in Las Vegas. Another big person that we are going to induct into this year's Hall of Fame. I think he has the greatest nickname in mixed martial arts history. It is the Axe Murderer, Wanderlei Silva, former Pride middleweight champion, most Zuffa-era knockouts with 19 combined with Pride FC and the UFC runs. Made his debut all the way back in 1998 in the UFC at Ultimate Brazil. A guy that, I mean, he was so intimidating, Pearl, that I think you didn't even need to see him fight to feel the same sort of fear that his opponents would have with him standing in front of them inside the octagon.
It's one of those fighters that his presence is a real big part of his arsenal and his tool set. When you step inside of a cage, you can feel certain people's presence, or even near them. You just feel their presence, and he is absolutely one of those fighters. Wait, but who do I look like?
Oh, that Wanderlei, yeah, I got you. I mean, trust me, my kid was maybe a year old before I started getting him to do that for me and take all the photos and videos and stuff. Is there any significance to that? Like, I mean, you're loosening up your wrist. Like,
I think he's loosening his wrist up. I typically do this before a warm up, but he did it so smooth. I still have to practice the way he did it to his walkout song, "The Sandstorm," which is a very famous song.
Oh,
and, yeah, man, it's amazing to kind of see him get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Watching him from the beginning, I've just watched recently one of his fights where he fought in Brazilian Vale Tudo.
Oh yeah, IVC.
And bare knuckle, and gosh, that was incredible.
Yeah, the only protection they basically had, for whatever reason, there was like a net on the bottom rope of the ring, to keep the guys in there. But, I mentioned Wanderlei. If he did this, if I just saw Wanderlei doing this in a room, I would just leave. I'd just be like, he's warming up for something. I don't know what. I don't want to be what he's warming up for. But, yeah, one of my favorite fighters, Wanderlei. So.
Is he?
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, he really set the stage, and he set the tone for this generation and the future generations coming. I mean, he was that gritty fighter, like you said, the ex-murderer who came in, and he was just there to kill, and really showed what that dominant, aggressive male fighter was.
Yeah, I mean, the Axe Murderer, it says it all right there. Like, you don't get to have that nickname if you're not terrifying. So
I agree.
Another Brazilian going into the Hall of Fame tonight, Mauricio Shogun Hua. Made his UFC debut back at UFC 76, former light heavyweight champion. Also picked up that Pride Middleweight Grand Prix crown in 2005, one of the all-time greats. Fought out of that same shoot-a-box camp with Wanderlei. So it's fitting, like you said, kind of a not a direct protege of Wanderlei, but someone who walked the same path at the same time. It's pretty cool to see those guys get the honor on the same night.
Absolutely. And when Wanderlei was fighting, he would always talk about, be on the lookout for Shogun Hua. Be on the lookout for my teammate. He's coming. And I think he helped really set and kind of clear the pathway for Shogun to come in. And, man, did Shogun have amazing ground and pound.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, just the way that his fluidity in his striking, the knees to the head, the soccer kicks, the way that he put it all together on the ground was simply beautiful.
No, absolutely. All right, we got people coming in.
All right.
It's exciting business here live at the UFC Hall of Fame, the pre-show ceremony. Look at this, Khalil Rountree coming in. Have a seat, my man. I'll get you on this headset here. How we doing?
Doing good. How's it going?
Good, man. Thank you for stopping by. Obviously, it's a big week, International Fight Week. You're not competing, but what is it like for you to kind of sit back and be a fan? Do you get the itch when you're out here in the midst of it all?
Yeah, I think the itch definitely comes. Absolutely. But I think the most important thing tonight is that I'm here to honor Wanderlei and Joanna both for being coaches of mine. Joanna, my coach in the Ultimate Fighter. And Wanderlei is the first coach that I ever had. He's the one that taught me how to fight as an amateur. I've got his logo tattooed on my ribcage. So very special night for two important people in my life, and that's the focus today.
You mentioned the logo. Wanderlei was one of those guys where he was such an intimidating force that just the silhouette of Wanderlei, you knew exactly who he was. Exactly, and it was the logo that a lot of people that have trained with him have, put on their body as a form of tribute. What was it like, the first time meeting Wanderlei and, maybe, trying to learn from him? Was it ever intimidating having an icon and a legend in front of you right away?
Yeah, I think the most intimidating moments were when it was time to spar. He was the nicest guy, and as soon as we walk in the gym, he's like very friendly and like smiley and joking. And I was like, you're not the guy that I watched on the Pride DVD, but okay, like, nice to meet you. But then as soon as that cage closes, when we were doing sparring rounds, it's like he turns into axe murderer, very scary. But he made me tough. And I think a lot of the fighting style that people enjoy seeing me do, I learned from him. So hats off to Wanderlei. Thank you.
If there's anything that you can go back to, especially in the beginning of your career, is there something that kind of that stuck with you forever? Maybe a lesson, a quote, a move that Wanderlei taught you that you will keep dear and close to your heart?
Yeah, I think there are like maybe 2 or 3 moments, maybe more. One of them was when I won my first amateur title. Wanderlei was right there in the cage with me, like holding my hand. He helped me get ready for that fight. A lot of the videos in the beginning of my career, YouTube videos, he was just constantly praising me and saying like, hey, you're going to be great, stick to it, stay dedicated. And then special moves, I think I'm just going to have to say the soccer kick.
Really?
Yeah, I mean.
How would he teach you that? Would he show you on a dummy or would he show you on another teammate?
I don't think that he taught me it. I think he just showed me that it's instinctively there. And after receiving a couple of them, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. So, yeah, those are my moments.
You mentioned the soccer kicks. I find it funny that when any athlete would, maybe go over and fight in Japan if they had experience in the UFC, like Jens Pulver's one of them. Jen said, going over to fight in Pride, all he wanted to do was soccer kick someone because he couldn't do it in the States. And Wanderlei was one of those reasons I think guys that couldn't do it were like, I have given the opportunity, I got to try to soccer kick someone in the head. But Pearl's right. Like, how do you drill a soccer kick? You can't.
It's either you got it or you don't.
Right.
It's that simple. It's like either you're that type of person or you're not. And that's it. There's no technique to that. There's no, learning. It's either like that's who you are or just leave it alone.
I think I need to practice. TJ.
Nope. Moving on. Let's talk about Joanna Jedrzejczyk. You mentioned your time with her on The Ultimate Fighter. It is interesting. You're a big guy, Khalil, but you can still learn from someone the size and stature of Joanna Jedrzejczyk, and for good reason. She's one of the greatest champions of all time.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like what she lacks in size, her spirit is huge, especially in The Ultimate Fighter. I've never known a strawweight, flyweight, or just tiny woman to come in here and command men and women both. Like she would tell us when we were messing up in training, she just come in there. When she walks in the room, we were like, okay, she's here. We gotta get it together. So yeah, big respect. She just her spirit, man. It's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of gender, alpha is alpha, and she's one of the biggest alphas.
That's the best way to put it, man. Like, alpha is alpha. When Joanna stepped in that room and in the training room for Ultimate Fighter, like, she definitely made it known to everyone in the room, I'm top dog.
Absolutely. Well,
is there something that you can take away from JoJo that necessarily that you learned from that you'll never forget?
Yeah, I kind of respect her for, like, almost taking this, like, big sister role, you know, like, as alpha as she was, she was equally as loving and, like, supportive of us and our team. So when, you know, she treated us really good and, you know, bought us sneakers and just was always friendly to us. So, awesome. Like, it feels like a big sister. When I see her, I'm like, that's big sis. And so, yeah, much appreciation.
The boogie woman.
Yeah.
Awesome. Khalil, I appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the week.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you.
Khalil Rountree, kind enough to join us here on Extra Rounds as we are live inside T-Mobile Arena, the site of the UFC Hall of Fame 2024 induction ceremony. TJ DeSantis, along with Pearl Gonzalez. I'm afraid to sit back down next to you because
I'm gonna practice my soccer kick.
Yeah, you just threatened to kick me in the head. I mean, granted, it was to, like, drill technique.
Yeah,
there is that.
I just want to learn it. Don't you want me to learn?
Yes, but maybe try a soccer ball. Not in my head.
Well, then we can't figure out how it works.
So you're saying, like, the ball can't give you feedback.
The ball doesn't have a neck.
It's true. I'm going to try to develop one so I don't have to get kicked in the head. But, you know, it is neat to talk to someone like Khalil, too.
So interesting.
I completely forgot that he had time with Joanna on the show, and I think that is true. You can't really describe Joanna Jedrzejczyk's attitude and mindset for fighting other than sort of just calling her alpha. And a lot of, you know, is brought about being an alpha male, but it doesn't matter. Alpha is alpha, and it's about as alpha as one can be when you can command the room like Joanna did, whether at 115 or 125.
Yeah, and she was the boogie woman. That was her nickname. She would walk in, she'd give you the slit around your neck when she would face off with you, and that was a big part of her preparing herself. I don't think it had anything really to do with her intimidating her opponents. I think that was her demanding and commanding the respect as the queen, as the strawweight queen, because that's what she was.
No, absolutely. Again, we are live inside T-Mobile Arena. It is the site of the 2024 UFC Hall of Fame ceremony. And, Pearl, this is one thing that I really like about this week more than anything. We live at a time where the UFC runs every single week, and it's always this fight, this fight, this fight. By the way, we've got a great fight coming up on Saturday as well. Multiple fights coming up on Saturday. But I like the night where we can kind of just put the modern times to the side and just appreciate the sport as a whole and some of these athletes that have given so much to make the sport what it is today. And, you know, whether it's, you know, Wanderlei in the Pride era, you know, along with Shogun, or, you know, Joanna, who led in, you know, a completely different weight class that really wasn't with the UFC prior to her run. It's special to just sit back and sort of dissect it all and show our appreciation as not just you know, people that are involved with the sport, but fans as well.
Absolutely, and just kind of reflect where the sport was and why it is where it is today. When you look at these athletes and you go back and you watch some of the footage, I think this week as I was doing my studies, I got to watch some of the older vlogs that were being done, like the first UFC on Fox, and it was incredible to kind of watch and to see the athletes then. And as I know today what the sport is like and where it is, it's amazing. And then you watch someone like Wanderlei, who had no gloves on and was in there and fighting like crazy.
Right.
And then the pride. And I mean, even Shogun, right? He fought that Grand Prix. How many times did he fight that night?
So the opening round would have been on a certain night, and then the final two rounds happened on the same night. So I believe he fought Alistair Overeem and Ricardo Arona on the same night, winning both of those fights and getting his hand raised and winning that 2005 middleweight Grand Prix. One of the best tournaments in combat sports history. It's pretty cool. We don't see that as much anymore, which is probably for good reason. But yeah, he definitely shined, and you know, it's exciting to see him get his just due. And yeah, I don't know, like, there's a red carpet behind us. Like,
it's so fancy.
I mean, you look like Jessica Rabbit tonight.
Thank you, and you look fancy yourself.
Thank you.
You match.
I think I wore the same thing when we called Hollywood Fight Nights a few weeks ago, but that's all right.
It looks amazing.
Thank you.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
it.
You know what else I love is, like, Shogun, right? He was, which was unheard of at this time, not only was he a fighter, especially in the beginning of his career, but he was a model. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I did not know that.
He was a model.
Dang.
And so today, yes, we have some athletes that do model and kind of dabble into that side, in the men's side. But at that time, right, the sport was so rugged and so raw and so tough and rough. And then you have this man who I believe is Portuguese, half Portuguese, not Brazilian, half Portuguese and Italian, unless they got the facts wrong, but who was from Brazil. He lived in Brazil. So he comes over representing Brazil, and, he's a suave, but he's also a monster and obviously a legend. And
I could model.
You could totally model.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Do it.
No, just like foot modeling or something, position the camera.
You never know. You might get paid. You might get paid really well for that.
I got good taste in sneakers.
Okay, yeah. You should show them off.
We'll show them off later.
Okay, those are pretty fly.
We haven't even gotten to one of the greatest fights in UFC history that's being honored this week, part of the class of 2024. Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, they're going in for their phenomenal fight. And one of the best rivalries as well. I feel like Anderson was definitely the champion of the world, but his rivalry in that fight with Chael Sonnen made him such a bigger deal in the combat sports world. And Chael, too. Chael definitely benefited from that fight, despite not getting his hand raised that night in Oakland. And it's good to take a step back and honor one of the greatest fights that ever took place in the octagon.
Oh, my goodness. And I think that what Chael did that night, the way that he brought that fight to Anderson, he made Anderson seem a little more realistic. And that is such a magical moment that when that happens in combat sports, when you have such a dominant, amazing athlete that seems almost superhuman.
Right.
And someone goes in there and makes them look not regular, you can't say regular, but makes them look that where you can compete at their level. It changes, I truly believe it changes the whole direction of the division.
Yeah.
And it does, it changes, and that whole division changes after that fight and after those moments, and that is one of those truly magical moments.
Well, there was a path to victory that was clearly outlined for anybody who wanted to try to wrestle the belt away from Anderson Silva, and Chael demonstrated that. And I remember I was talking to a friend of mine when that fight was happening, and he told me at the very beginning of the fight, Pearl, he's like, Chael Sonnen is 5 takedowns away from a UFC middleweight championship. And every time Chael got a takedown, he sent me a text and went 1,
oh my God,
2, 3. And sure enough, he got all the takedowns he needed, but Anderson, being the phenomenal legend that he is, pulled off a triangle from out of nowhere.
I mean, do you remember what that feeling was like watching that fight live?
Yeah. I was running around my living room.
Yes, it was insane. It was crazy because we did not see that. Nor did we really see Anderson's grappling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that was the thing, too. When Anderson ultimately lost his title to Chris Weidman, a lot of people were saying Anderson was playing around. He wasn't taking it serious. He wasn't playing around with Chael Sonnen at all. Sonnen was on a mission and made Anderson look human for the first time in his run. And honestly, without that fight, I don't know if we would have a blueprint like we do for some of these athletes to sell fights the way that they do. Because not only was it a phenomenal fight and almost the most impossible thing happened in Chael pulling off the upset, but we saw how people can be captivated and drawn in a way where, again, I feel like that fight is one of the greatest of all time, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but that rivalry itself deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And this is about as good as we're going to get with that fight going in, but it's not just about that fight. In a lot of ways, we're celebrating not only just the athletes of both men, but just that rivalry at its core.
It was the advertisement. It was the way that Chael came and sold that fight. He really did lay down a blueprint for the future, for the Conor. I mean, even if you look at Sugar Sean O'Malley, he still kind of quotes Chael where he said, "I've never been beat. I have zero loss. I've never been beat." And that was that mentality, and that was the blueprint.
Yeah.
It was from Chael. Chael came in and really showed what you do if you own and hone the entertainment side of this sport.
Yeah, I want to take a look at some of Chael's accomplishments here. Solid record, made his debut back at UFC 55 in October of 2005. But look at that, most control time in the middleweight division, 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 28 seconds. And Pearl, I venture to say that he controlled everyone outside of the octagon as well. You know, you give the man a microphone, and he basically pulls all the strings, and everyone responds, in kind. And it's safe to say, I think, Pearl, that that's still happening today. He still controls a lot of the discourse as an analyst, and Chael belongs in the Hall of Fame for a lot of reasons, and many of them were reasons that didn't necessarily take place inside the octagon.
I agree with that. The bad guy. I mean, he's the bad guy, right? And he loves it. He loves it. And yes, you're right. He does. He still has this incredible voice, has an incredible opinion, can give us a very educated and unique perspective, perspective that's quite unique. But he did. The bad guy, when the bad guy comes out, it's pure, we need popcorn. It's pure entertainment.
Absolutely. So, again, that fight going in the Hall of Fame this year, all part of the class of 2024. We are live inside T-Mobile. The red carpet right behind us. I'm TJ DeSantis. She is Pearl Gonzalez. It is International Fight Week in Las Vegas. We haven't even talked about UFC X. We're going to be there tomorrow as well as Saturday. It's an experience unlike any other. And what I like more than anything about International Fight Week is obviously we have this, huge fight night coming up on Saturday, but we just saw Khalil Rountree. It seems like almost every athlete over the years in the UFC, they're somewhere in this city at some point during IFW, and it's exciting to see some of them come out and just be fans as well.
Absolutely. I mean, just the whole aura that's going on here in Vegas right now is amazing. And you're right, the athletes can all come together and just celebrate fighting, being in the sport, being in the UFC, and having some fun festivities go on and having a little fun and letting loose, because 9 out of 10 times you're showing up to fight. I mean, obviously we have our athletes this week that are fighting, but you're showing up, you're cutting weight, you're fighting, and then it's time to go, and we don't really get to enjoy the sport like we are doing this week, and it's a beautiful and a unique experience. I cannot wait to play you in whatever game we play tomorrow.
You mean lose to me in whatever game?
I mean, we can try. You could try.
It's already a foregone conclusion. I don't know what we're playing, but I've decided I'm going to win. Positive mindset, Pearl.
Okay.
Obviously we're talking a little bit about UFC 303, and one of the luminaries in it is your UFC light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira. Looking at the Brazilian, I mean, I think it's already a foregone conclusion. Someday in the near future, when his career is all said and done, he's going to be walking this red carpet. He's already done enough to be considered a UFC Hall of Famer, and he's still penning that story, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, Pearl.
I mean, you're absolutely right. 10-2 is his record in MMA. Like, how insane is that we are talking about what his legacy is as he continues on his path and continues to solidify his legacy, but he's 10-2 in MMA. Is that not crazy to you?
Yeah. I mean, hasn't been in the UFC for very long, and now stepping up on short notice against Yuri Prochazka. What are your thoughts on this fight? Because it's a fight we haven't had to go for too long without seeing a rematch. They fought last November. There was some talk about it potentially being controversial. I thought the fight should have gone on just a little bit longer. No one knows better than Yuri Prochazka whether or not the fight should have gone on any longer. He said, no, it's probably a justified stoppage, but I'm happy we get to see it this quick.
And you're right. The jury did say that he was out, and so I think at that point there's no more talk about that. He was out. He got caught. He accepted that, and that's a real big part of growth is accepting and being accountable for the mistakes that were made. But prior to the hook that Alex threw, he was landing really good shots on Alex. I think this is a very competitive fight. It's a fun fight, to say the least. I saw on Twitter someone said the UFC should let both guys enter on separate sides of the arena and hunt each other. I think that sounds amazing.
Yeah. What to make of the whole spirits thing and the channeling of energy from beyond? What do you think about that?
I think that Jiri's right. I think that Jiri, I don't know about shaman and that. I believe that Alex's spirit is so strong, it's so unique. He channels his ancestors and his native spirit, and it's an aura that is unexplainable. When you are around Alex, you feel that. He doesn't say much. He's a very quiet man, but you feel his spirit and you feel his aura. And yeah, I believe it, and I can only imagine what that feels like across the cage from him, across the octagon. That has to be intense and real. And there are these athletes that come in, I know that you've heard it before, where it's like it's not just that person you're fighting the energy, the whole aura that comes. Ronda had it, GSP had it, Alex has it. There's so many unique athletes that come in with this aura, this really big. Connor had it, Sean O'Malley, I believe, has it, and it's a different feeling, and I think that Jerry feels that, and it's real. I don't know what he means by leave it. That to me was interesting, but and nevertheless, I think that he's onto something, and I know that he feels what he feels, and let's see if he can get past it. That's your main event this Saturday night. It is for the UFC's light heavyweight championship as Alex Pereira looks to defend against Yuri Prochazka. And I brought up the spirits and the energy because we've got a pretty packed IFW schedule as we're going to be live from UFC X tomorrow. We have a psychic coming on the air, Pearl, a psychic tomorrow. I'm a little afraid. I might try to keep my distance. I don't know exactly what a psychic can and can't tell me, but I'm afraid the answer might be something I might not like. And well, I'm really excited because I am sure this psychic is going to tell me who my future ex is, and I'm ready. I'm here for it. All right. Are there candidates, or is she going to pick from one or two, or no? She's going to tell me. Okay. And I'm going to know who my next future ex is. And it's fitting that you'll find out at UFC X. All right. So you're all about that psychic life, huh? Yeah, future ex. I just want to know where's the future ex. Maybe she gives me two. I might get two future exes. What if? Why are you so negative? Why does it got to be an ex? About I mean, that? You might find your prince. Why can't it be a future ex? Well, maybe it's a future king. That sounds like fun. Okay. All right. I'm scared now of you, so tune in tomorrow. Live from UFC X we've got a phenomenal day. Don Fry's going to be here. Yes. Excited for that. I cannot help but think about French fries whenever you say his name. I mean, I'm thinking about French fries 9 out of 10 times throughout the day, personally, so. Do you have a first sort of UFC exposure moment that you remember? Like, what was your first introduction to Oh my the goodness, UFC? I'll never forget it. I don't know if it was my very first moment, but it was the most memorable moment in my young career. I was an amateur, and I was raising my sister at this time. I was young. I was maybe 19, 20. And I didn't have a lot of money, and I finally saved up enough money. I was at work to get new gloves because I had used whatever old used gloves were in the gym. So I got enough money to go and get a pair of gloves. So I had walked, it was a couple blocks, there was a Dick's Sports Authority store a couple blocks away. So I walked over there. And I remember watching Anderson Silva. I actually had his book at this time. He had a striking book that came out. And so I'm in there, and I'm looking at gloves, and I'm just kind of walking around and looking at the stuff. And I look up, and it's Anderson Silva. And I was like, no way, there's no way this is Anderson. And so I walked up to him, and I was like, hi, how are you? Oh, my God, I'm such a big fan of you. I have your book. And I'm, talking and talking, not realizing he doesn't speak any English. And he was just so nice to me. He let me ramble, even though he didn't understand me. And he shook my hand, and he took a picture with me. And it was just it was such a beautiful moment. It gave me so much encouragement, inspiration, and strength to go and work hard. That's crazy. Isn't it crazy? Randomly in the store that you're in? No, well, it was UFC Chicago, and he fought there. Got it. And so, it was a really cool moment in my life, and so that was a pretty memorable one. I would say that's probably my first big UFC memory. That would have been UFC 90, where he fought Patrick Cote. Is that what that fight was? Yeah. I was there. Were you? Yeah, I was. Oh, my goodness. All right. What do we got? Oh, okay. All right, Forrest. Make it way. Hello, Forrest. Hello, sir. How are you? Put that up. It must be International Fight Week if Forrest Griffin joins us. It's a yearly tradition as we chat with you here at the Hall of Fame. How are things? Good. I don't know why you guys keep having me back, but thank you.
I thought it was in your contract that you had to come and bother us on this day.
I don't know that I have a contract
No?
anymore. I think I just keep showing up. I might have been fired years ago. I just keep showing up.
It's like that guy from Office Space.
It is. I've
right?
been Office Space. Don't worry about that.
Do you have a red stapler?
I actually, I'm not even kidding. I have a stapler hidden in my office.
Do you really?
And then people say, can I have the stapler? And I'm like, yes, but you better return it or I'm taking fingers.
I believe that. Don't take Forrest Griffin's stapler. I'm curious, Forrest. Obviously, you were a huge part of penning the story of the UFC through The Ultimate Fighter. And now, with your position post-fighting career, do you have a different appreciation for the sport in what you're doing now than you did when you were an active competitor?
I mean, I don't know the most emphatic way to say yes, of course. I mean, you think about the sport and where it's come, and, I always wanted to be a fighter. And I remember, the pride, I would put prize fighter down. And I didn't really, I never thought of myself as a martial artist until after I retired.
Why is that?
Because to me, growing up, if a kid did martial arts and I'd fight him, I always won. So I was like, martial arts must not work. It's just a bunch of fat guys in pajamas pretending they know what's going on. It's like I've never needed to break a piece of wood. And that's what I thought martial arts was.
See, I agree with you. I remember, when I was a kid, The Karate Kid, cool movie, sure. But, it wasn't what mixed martial arts was.
I'm going to blow your mind. Okay. I don't know that I've ever seen the whole thing.
Really?
I don't know that I've ever seen the whole thing.
The original or the new one?
Okay. I definitely haven't seen the new one. And I don't even know if I've ever watched the whole Rocky.
Really?
It would just be on TNT, and I would just catch parts of it. So I've seen it if you put it all together.
Do you have a favorite combat sports movie then? Have you seen one that you prefer?
I live one.
What an answer. What an answer.
I like that.
Yeah. I don't need to see it.
But I kind of feel you when you say martial arts back in the 80s or 90s. Yeah. It's not what it is today.
No,
We've gotten rid of a lot of that stuff.
I didn't know that there were little dorks out there that could break every ligament in my body. Now there are.
Right.
And those guys are martial artists.
Right.
And I respect the hell out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't break cinder blocks or anything.
No, but they break ligaments.
That's true.
They break bones.
Which is way more intimidating.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. I do feel like Jiri brings a little bit of that traditional martial art.
That's a great point.
It makes it cool again and kind of brings it in a modern day, breaking boards and stuff like that.
I heard he petitioned the athletic commission to carry a samurai sword to the octagon.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh. How badass would that be, though? It would be so fitting.
It would be so awesome.
It would be so fitting.
Let's give him a plastic one.
All right.
So tonight we're here for the Hall of Fame with Wanderlei and Shogun.
Shogun. Two of the guys that were my favorite guys to watch fight. And I got to spar with Wanderlei for years. He actually lived out here, opened a gym out here. I sparred with him on and off for years.
Wow.
And before that, I'd asked to fight him. Shogun was one of my heroes. Not heroes, but I just thought the world of him. And I was just hey, when I fought him, I was I got him once, he got me once. If you got to lose to somebody, lose to Shogun ain't the worst thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So is there any cool stories that you can tell us here, from you and Wanderlei in your training days?
Oh, man, we really did go at it pretty hard. He was just a really nice guy. I went to his house for a barbecue once, and I was the only person that didn't speak Portuguese.
So what did you talk about?
Nothing. I just ate meat, which, if you've ever been to a Brazilian's house, eating meat's all right.
There you go.
Goodness, it's amazing.
What do you think about this class as a whole? Obviously, Anderson and Chael go in. Joanna Jedrzejczyk, a very fitting and deserving
so
person.
Awesome. Yeah. She kind of picked up where Ronda Rousey left off with the female,
that's a great way
the
to look at it.
115-pound division. You have a fighter that makes that division, right?
Yes.
And that's what she did.
Yeah, we were talking about how she commands the attention of anybody, no matter who's in the room, and she is alpha. She might be a 150-pound or 125-pound fighter, but she's as big as any heavyweight is when it comes to that mindset and attitude.
I got to do a week with her when I was working at the UFC, of athlete development, where we trained NBA guys. And just the way she carried herself around, she's a little person,
right?
And these 6'8", 6'9" NBA guys, and she would just. Like you said, she commanded the room. They were like, yes, ma'am, we'll go over here. You want us to go here? I was like, I wish I could get that bliss to be like that.
We were talking about the Anderson and Chael fight, and it's a fight that obviously deserves to go by itself, but it's a rivalry as well. And I think
everything that led up to it, and before and after, and they made both of those guys.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
both their careers.
Despite losing that fight, I think Chael came away the winner in so many different ways coming out of that fight, because he went from a guy that a lot of people paid attention to a guy that everyone needed to listen to everything that he said and watch him fight moving forward, because he sold that fight and himself so well.
He did. And, to be honest, he wasn't a guy I paid attention to before that. Because I thought his style was whatever. It's like, all right, whatever. He's going to throw 4 punches and hold you on the ground. No, but seriously, we're talking about, you're talking about Wanderlei and Shogun. That's what I want to see,
right.
Right. It's just my style, right? It's just my preference.
Right.
But, so after that, he became much-watched TV. And that rivalry between the striker and the grappler, it made it important,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we were talking Chael Sonnen has sort of the blueprint for a lot of fighters, if they can pull it off, to try to emulate that persona, if you can, because he's one of a kind in many ways.
Which a lot of people that try to pull that persona off don't realize how much he's one of a kind and how clever he is and how, he does his homework.
Yeah.
He's out there. He's good. You got to give him credit. Love him, hate him. He's good at talking.
Absolutely.
And a lot of guys that try to emulate it are not.
I mean, pretty quick whether or not you can do it by just the fan reaction. But, Chael was one of a kind, and pretty great to see that fight and rivalry get honored. And it's great to see you here.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Until next time. I think we might see you Saturday night back here.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I hear.
We're going to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about fighting.
Let's do it.
That's what I do.
There he is.
Thank you, guys.
Kind enough to join us here, just shy of the red carpet here inside T-Mobile Arena, part of International Fight Week 2024. And it's always fun catching up with Forrest, because he's a guy that, obviously did so much for the sport as an active competitor, but is still doing so and helping write the next chapter. And that's the thing about mixed martial arts, is obviously we talked about the fights that are in front of us, but there is so much more that goes into it. And Forrest being a part of it, on the office side of things, it's great to see athletes still give back and help pave the way for new ones in the future.
I believe it's comforting, to say the least, because you have an athlete that was involved in the beginning days, and you see how active he is. And yes, he kind of jokes around about his job, but he truly is so active in the modern day sport today in so many areas. He's here tonight. Works at the PI. I mean, there's so many pieces of the puzzle that he really helps as the sport grows and evolves. And you want someone like Forrest that is as knowledgeable and as experienced as he is in the fight game from a fighter's perspective, that can really help develop and grow this sport for the fighter, for the athlete.
I'm just curious if there's old sparring footage between
That's what I was
him
gonna
and Wanderlei.
ask. I want to know, was it scary? I had a couple questions about the sparring.
I'm guessing it probably was. There's only one speed with Wanderlei, and that's forward
was
and
it?
fast.
Or
Pretty
is
much.
he, or
super
is
aggressive.
He...
I've heard a bunch of stuff about sparring back in the day.
Really?
With oh yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, the term sparring in a fight, pretty much the same thing. That's what I heard.
Okay, interesting. I feel like some of these savages they have to. Yes, they have to turn it up, but they also know how to fight and spar smart.
Yeah. No,
if you were to spar me, I'd spar you smart. I'd be very nice to you and very controlled.
Well, it wouldn't be very smart for me to spar you, so it's probably not going to happen. Did I do something wrong? Why do you want to hurt me?
No, I just feel like I want to teach you some moves.
I was joking when I said I was trying to get rid of you. It's all a joke, Pearl. Dang it. That wasn't part of your contract to come back. You get to spar with me one time.
I don't know. Steve said that it was okay if I did. I did ask.
Damn it, Steve. Get me in trouble. Live inside the T-Mobile Arena, it's Extra Rounds. I'm TJ DeSantis. She's Pearl Gonzalez. It is International Fight Week. We are right next to the red carpet. I want to start to see some of these Hall of Fame inductees come in tonight, because we're going to see their style on display a little bit, right?
That's exactly. I actually was going to ask Forrest, the first event that we did with him, I asked him what he was wearing, and I forgot what he said. I think he said he rented the suit from, so I wanted to see what he came out with. But he looked jazzy.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, you know?
You do. This is a red carpet event.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely try to put on the suit. I'm trying to be jazzy. Is jazzy a good thing?
Yeah,
okay,
jazz is
a good thing. All right, perfect. Who are you wearing? Is that like a designer?
Yes, this is House of CB, which is a pretty famous designer for women's clothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a whole lineup of outfits you're wearing this week?
Oh, yeah, I've got them all. I actually had to go and have something fixed and altered this morning that is done, so that tomorrow's outfit's ready. All of my clothes are ironed, A, B, C's, whatever. If this doesn't work, I've got things lined up. They're all ironed and ready to rumble.
I'm T-shirts the rest of the week.
Really?
No, probably not.
Yeah, I was going to say, and don't you dare.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to just wear T-shirts.
I bet it is so hot here.
It is. Yeah, it was like 117 earlier this week.
Oh, my
My plane
goodness.
had to go around because they didn't want to land because the tarmac was too hot.
It was too hot?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So, we've had a heat wave in California.
Right.
And people were complaining how hot it is, and I show up, and I'm like, oh, my God, that is nothing compared to here, and it's 108 yesterday when I arrived.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's a dry heat, they say, whatever that means, because I'm not dry when I walk outside. Like 2 seconds. It's not good. Things heating up Saturday night inside T-Mobile, part of UFC 303. Let's take a look at the odds for your main card coming up. Again, don't forget, Yuri Prochazka getting a crack at the champion once again. Alex Pereira going to defend his UFC light heavyweight championship. Pereira is the favorite, minus 155 on the Brazilian to come back on Prochazka at plus 130. Great co-main event. Brian Ortega taking on Diego Lopez.
Oh, my goodness.
Lopez, the favorite, minus 142.
Is he?
The comeback on Ortega at plus 120. What are your thoughts on that, Pearl? I mean, that's a pretty great co-main event, and one that maybe it seems surprising to you a little bit that Lopez is the favorite.
It is because of how talented, technical, and gritty Ortega is, and experienced Ortega is, and to see that is very interesting. How do you feel about it?
I'm with you on the experience factor. I think Ortega is gritty and definitely
skilled.
I would lean towards him, but look at Lopez and what he's done. He's only been in the UFC for a year and some change, and he's already made huge waves. And for him to get this opportunity on this huge card to be in the co-main event, I think he deserves it. But it's a slight edge in the favorite department for him. But I can tell you this fight is definitely one of my favorites on this card. And I don't know who's going to win.
Everybody's favorite. You know what I love about Lopez? He speaks his first language is Portuguese, but he also speaks Spanish, Mexican Spanish. He combines the two together, and then he threw English at us. Like, he's just such a unique individual. To hear the way he speaks, some of his words will be Portuguese, and then some of his words are Spanish. So it's like this beautiful mix of both Spanish and Portuguese together, and then he can speak English. I just think he's so talented, and that just showcases the depth of his mindset.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that makes me feel even more lazy than I am, because it's like, dang, how many languages do you speak? You're also
He
fighting
spoke
the UFC?
3 yesterday at the media day.
Yeah, it's impressive to say the least. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a phenomenal fight. Lopez definitely deserves it. Brian Ortega has been a staple in this division, and great fight. Great fight to say the least. So.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how Brian Ortega approaches this fight. I think that they kind of talked about the grappling, and Lopez believes that he's going to actually be the one that is going after submissions and going for the grappling in this fight. And that's kind of interesting because when you watch Brian, when you look at him, everybody is so afraid of his grappling.
Yeah.
And how skilled, and he shows you why. He really does. And so it's a different approach, I think, that this will be. Does he take it to the ground? Does he go and test himself on there? Is he the one that goes and starts fishing for submissions in this fight, or do they keep it standing? It's interesting.
Can't wait to see it. It is your co-main event, all part of UFC 303, which is the crown jewel of International Fight Week here in Las Vegas. I'm TJ DeSantis. She's Pearl Gonzalez. We are inside T-Mobile Arena for the UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony as we welcome the class of 2024. I look at all these athletes, and I wonder how emotional it is for some of these athletes to be inducted, because you have to sit back and sort of look at everything that made you great. And, this isn't a sport that you do, haphazardly. It's not something you do on the side. When you are doing this, you know better than anybody. It has to be your entire life. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed at it. To have the world stop and celebrate you, probably a pretty emotional experience.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine. You're right. The sacrifices it takes, the amount of time that gets taken away from your personal life and just a regular life to compete and to pursue a career in this sport it's a very lonely life. It's a very focused and disciplined life. You miss so many birthday parties and so many holidays and family and there's so many pieces that are missed. And then you go in sometimes and you sacrifice all of that and you go into the fight and you do not get the decision.
Right.
And you don't get the outcome that you work so hard for. And so for as high as the highs are in fighting, there are very lows. They're the lowest of lows. And so to come here and kind of witness and just look at it overall, it makes those lows, makes the sacrifices, makes it all worth it. I can only imagine that's what has to be felt tonight by the inductees is, wow, it was worth it. And what a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we look at some of the athletes tonight, like I think a guy like Frankie Edgar, Frankie is a guy that, really, he doesn't sort of like command the spotlight. Like, don't get me wrong, he has shined in it, becoming one of the greatest fighters to ever step foot inside the octagon. But he's a guy, Pearl, that doesn't necessarily demand respect. He earns it, but he doesn't go out there and take it. And I think Frankie's a perfect example of someone that we need to stop and sort of tell maybe the next generation who didn't get to see him in his prime, look, this is Frankie Edgar, and this is why you need to pay attention.
Absolutely. He was one of those guys. I think one of his favorite quotes was just work hard. Just keep your, shut down, shut up, and work. And that was his mentality throughout his wrestling career. He had a very big wrestling and long wrestling career, and he took that same mentality into his MMA career, and he had such a lengthy career. I mean, to be able to fight in several divisions, to fight for as long as he did, to see the sport evolve and be a part of that evolution is incredible. So he was nicknamed the Rocky Balboa of UFC, and I think
really?
That is so fitting.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he was one of the Rockies, although I haven't seen all the movies. But I do believe that that's a very fitting name for him. He just never stopped giving up. He never gave up until it was time. And watching even his retirement speech and watching him talk about when it was time to hang the gloves up, he was so emotional. And as a fighter, you just get locked in and just love the life, love the challenge, love the growth, love the discipline and focus and all of those things that kind of come with the sport. And so when it's time to let it go, it was kind of heartbreaking to watch that, and I can only imagine what that feels like for him. But yeah, I think this is a big moment for him, and he's very deserving, and you are right, he's a quiet guy, so to kind of allow the world to speak of his career and his accolades is amazing.
Do you have a favorite combat sports movie? Are you a movie person?
Sometimes, but I like chick flicks.
Okay. All right. We're going to leave it there.
Do I have a favorite combat movie? Not off the top of my head right now.
Yeah?
Oh, The $1 Million Baby was a really good one. It was really sad.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one, though. I like it.
Okay.
It's a good one. I like Here Comes the Boom.
I don't know if I've seen
Kevin
that one.
James. Never mind.
No, I've never seen that one.
Chael Sonnen was in that movie.
Was he?
Yeah.
I was wondering, was Forrest Griffin in a movie?
I think he was in Here Comes the Boom, too.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That is so funny. We should have brought that up.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we can watch it before the weekend's over.
Okay. Maybe.
It's a good movie.
I doubt we'll have time.
We won't. We won't.
It's wishful thinking.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite moment from any of our athletes that are getting inducted this week, whether it be Joanna, Anderson, Shogun, Wanderlei?
I think Joanna obviously hit home. She was one of the athletes that you kind of watched and witnessed, and I remember her fighting, what's her name? I cannot even pronounce her name. Kowaczek.
Ah, yeah, Karolina
Kowaczek. And when those two fought, and it was a very big fight because they were both Polish, they were representing Poland, so that was a big fight for their country, and it was just a big fight for the division. And she went in, and I believe at the end of that fight, she threw landed 74 leg kicks throughout that fight. And just to watch her. Her striking was so technical. It was so beautiful the way that she threw these leg kicks, or she threw her strikes, and depending on the fighter that she was fighting, if she was fighting a grappler, you know, she was so disciplined. She would only throw 2 punches. She would rarely kick, or she would wait and throw really low leg kicks. Or if she was fighting someone like Carolina, who kept coming forward, I mean, she shut her down, shut down her offense with these lead leg kicks. And just to kind of watch her, she was like for as scary as she was, for as violent as she was also a technician. And man, I just adored. I would love to admire her work and watch her as she made her career path.
No, absolutely. I feel like I've got moments for almost every single one of these athletes. Going back to Frankie Edgar, his trilogy with Gray Maynard was phenomenal stuff. There was a moment where Frankie was hurt really bad. Looked like he wasn't going to be able to continue in the fight. He came back and he was able to. This happened a couple times in his fights with Gray Maynard. You know, Frankie's a guy that, like, you could never count him out. And maybe that's why you kind of alluded to that nickname, the Rocky Balboa of the UFC, because there were long odds for Frankie Edgar to succeed and do what he did. Despite those odds, he, like I said, brought his lunch pail to work every day and shined in the octagon. So that would be mine for Frankie Edgar, just his durability, you know, being able to get through some really hard fights, whether it be Gray Maynard, even the Jose Aldo fights, you know, had to bite down in the mouthpiece. But when I think about all the athletes and their signature styles and looks, there's no better signature style and look than just Wanderlei Silva in his essence, fighting. Like I said, like his logo, Khalil Rountree talked about it earlier, was basically just the outline of the man, the silhouette. What do we got next?
All right.
2. Here we go.
Hello, guys.
There we go. Have a seat there.
Oh, you can have a seat here.
Is this my reversal?
Yes. Hello, Giga. How are you?
Giga Chikadze, Beneil Dariush, kind enough to join us here. It's Extra Rounds. Live from inside T-Mobile Arena. I'm TJ DeSantis. That's Pearl Gonzalez. Gentlemen, how are we?
We're doing good. It's cool because last time we were here, it was for Giga. Now
Right,
this time it's for me.
Yeah, you're exchanging this Forrest Griffin Community Award. Beneil, talk about what you've done here, helping raise funds and build orphanages and things like that.
So Haiti is one of the places I work in, and I got there, I want to say in 2014. I saw that there was a need, so I was able to work with our church and the pastors there and start this. Over the years, it's kind of grown. It went from being a feeding program to a school and to the children's home, like you mentioned. We were able to partner up with Promise Child, who was just able to help us grow tremendously.
What what do you do? Obviously, you bring attention and notoriety through your fight career, but how much do you get your hands dirty on trying to actually go out there and make these things happen?
So I was in Haiti twice a year before the so-called civil unrest. It's basically a civil war going on right now. I would go there 2 times a year to make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be, and I was planning on doing way more once I retired. Currently, because it's so bad, we've actually had to change our tactics. Our people are being attacked, sometimes robbed at gunpoint, you know, so we've had to change our tactics. They could see that our people are, you know, they have a car, there's all these kids, like who's feeding these kids, so they know we have some kind of fund. They have some kind of funding, so they go after them. They're easy targets. So we've had to relocate people into safer places in smaller groups.
Wow. That's we always talk about the fights that you guys have, but that's a completely different fight altogether. Yeah. Giga, you can speak to this too. How much does it benefit you in your own personal journey to give back to a community like this and like what Beneil's doing?
In my case, you know, I had a story how I started my charity fund because of my mom's problem. She died from cancer, and then I've been trying to help others. This kind of has a little bit of a release in my heart, you know, this is gonna stay forever like that. But today I'm here for the Benny, you know, he came with his whole family and supported me when I had my moment and shine. And I couldn't be missing this opportunity to come and support him. Besides whatever you guys see, I just want to mention real quick that there is so much about Benny that he's doing that nobody knows. It's in the gym, outside of the gym, you know, like he makes just life and athletes' careers easier every single day. I know he's laughing and he's gonna eat some stuff, but there is so much. If you would come in our gym and just talk to anybody, he's a man. He's a man that any award exists inside the sports, doesn't matter MMA, he should be one that getting all the awards and benefits, man.
Giga's fighting in like 5 weeks, 4 weeks, and I told him to stay home, but he's still here. So, no, Giga's the man, and I appreciate that.
So do you guys have anything exciting that you guys are doing this weekend, this week while you're here in town?
I'm hoping I can get my hands on Giga on Saturday. That's all I'm hoping for. They're keeping us so busy tomorrow as well, but we normally, you know, get a couple of sessions in per week. Since his opponent is Southpaw, I'm Southpaw. The thing I'm most looking forward to is getting my hands on Giga.
Imagine I have a fight coming up in a month.
Okay.
I'm fighting in the Southpaw, and I'm training with the best Southpaw in MMA right now. I'm just blessed to have Benny in my team, and I was calling, okay, like there was a time I was calling 10 p.m. and okay, Benny, I missed the training or sparring. I need to spar. He's like down anytime to wake up, and especially now I'm fighting the 4 a.m. in Manchester. I might still bother him and wake him up like 4 a.m. Hey, brother, we gotta go and train.
We gotta go. It's true, we do.
I know he's down and he'll step up.
You mentioned Southpaws. One Southpaw that's been pretty featured on UFC Fight Pass is King Callum Walsh in boxing. I know you have some ties with Callum. You actually trained with him, I think, today, maybe.
Yeah, this morning we had, he showed up at PI and I was training with Patch. He's also one of the, I believe he's a champion in other organization right now. He's a very strong fighter. And once I was done training with him, I see the Callum sticking around there, and I'm like, what are you doing, brother? Let's train. And he was down, and it's definitely a blessing to have so many high-level athletes. And you know, the boxing is the one that my opponent is doing, so I took all the British-style boxing tips from him, and I'm glad to have him in my team as well.
You know, mixed martial arts is very much a team sport, and obviously, Beneil, we're honoring you this week, part of International Fight Week in the Hall of Fame with the Forrest Griffin Community Award. You're giving back to a different team, but how much does it mean to you to be a good teammate as well as, you know, you guys are family, right? Like,
yeah.
This isn't a sport that you, like we were talking about earlier, that you take lightly. It's, you know, he's your brother out there.
Yeah.
I think I have to take from here.
Yeah.
I met Beneil in 2014. Only for an hour, only for 1 hour. At King's I show up, we trained. He was watching, he was side, he was warming up, doing like some, he was
My nose was broken because I don't know.
He had all the padding and stuff. He didn't spar that day. And he saw a potential in me, and since that time, he was the one that, Giga, you gotta come here, you gotta come here. And he stepped up. He helped me to move here. He helped me to organize. I helped Nate Diaz versus Dos Anjos. I helped Rafael Dos Anjos in his camp. And that was all Benny and Rafael Cordeiro. He helped me to be there, train with them. And then I remember when I came here with my wife and family, I lived at his mom's, in his mom's bedroom. They gave me the bedroom for a couple of months. I stayed there. And he's the man. Like, I can't stop talking about what he's done for me and what he's my son's godfather as well, and definitely we're a family.
So
Awesome.
You guys talk about these, you know, all these beautiful stories as a family. Do you guys have any heated stories in the gym? Was there anything?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, you show up on Wednesday, and when you show up on the Wednesday sparring, you'll see the stories all day. He never stops.
I got one. Okay, so there was one practice we did where you tie your lead foot to each other, right?
So you're like fighting in the booth or something?
You can't move, right? You're fighting in the booth.
It's like you tied up almost.
And so we start going, and it looks like we absolutely hate each other. We're just killing each other. And I watched the video later. What I noticed, everybody around us is like just touching. They're just like playing touch, and I'm like, what are we doing
No, a
here?
couple of minutes, everybody was stopped and was
then,
watching us.
And at the end of it, they're just watching us. They're like, what is wrong with these guys? So even though we're at King's and everybody spars really hard, when it's Giga and I, so you'll see people stop
music,
and watch. So even though we go at it, it's more of a brotherly love.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
So it was like a Rock'em Sock'em moment. Is that what
It was bad, honestly. When I look back at it, I was like, that probably took a couple of months off of my life.
You don't get Fight of the Night awards in sparring, all right? So
If there was one, that one would have been the fight of the year.
there you go. Awesome. Beneil, Dariush, Giga, Chikadze, thanks for stopping by. Congrats on the award. Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We roll on live here from inside T-Mobile Arena, the site of the UFC Hall of Fame ceremony for the class of 2024. TJ DeSantis along with Pearl Gonzalez. And, that's what I like. I like stories like that, Pearl, where, there's so much that we see in front of the camera, under the bright lights, but so many more stories inside the gym that we aren't privy to.
I think we should try that game tomorrow.
No. See, what did I do? Like, why do you want to hurt me?
You don't have to be the one that's tying your foot. You can be the referee. Do you want to be the ref?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sounds
look, I
good.
think we get another person.
2 minutes.
Oh, man.
2 minutes with the great John Anik.
Hello,
go there.
John.
Go there.
Okay,
We'll stay
do you
here.
want me to
We'll just stay here.
Okay.
Press this button over here.
How are you?
There he is. The MC,
Hi, guys.
The MC of the Hall of Fame. How many years running now?
I mean, TJ DeSantis, we go way back. I would love to give you 5 minutes. My voice is starting to go from the red carpet. Not a good thing. So Tito Ortiz, I believe 2012 at the UFC Fan Expo. We presented him with his Hall of Fame trophy on the stage. It was sort of a makeshift Hall of Fame ceremony, and now here we are. It's my 13th year doing this in some capacity.
So what are you going to do about the voice? It's a long week.
We'll
John.
be fine.
So
I don't have a
Thursday.
ton of talking to do tonight. I have like a 7-minute opening monologue. But the voice always rallies after sleeping. But I was asked about the Boston Celtics over there, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I think it did a little damage, if I'm being honest.
I mean, there's a lot of good things to scream about if you're a Celtics fan these
for
days.
sure.
What's your favorite part of International Fight Week? Obviously, you got the fights on Saturday, but is there anything you get to do where you take a step back and be a fan?
Well, it's nice to be able to show to people that Las Vegas is the fight capital of the world, and with respect, it's not Abu Dhabi or anywhere else in the world. This is the fight capital. It's the largest collection of not just UFC fighters, but fans. And when you have a Hall of Fame class like this, it's even more festive. I don't know what your historical framework is for past Hall of Fame classes. This is the deepest class I've
100%.
ever seen go in. When you think about one-name guys like Wanderlei and Shogun, so it's really cool to see the UFC fans come out in droves year after year and see a lot of the same faces, right? These fans must have money to come out and do this thing year after year.
I mean, it's if you're going to come 1 week, this is the week to come in. Don't even necessarily have to go to the fights. There's so many things to do, whether it's UFC X, you can get in the Hall of Fame for relatively cheap. Like, there's so many experiences that IFW, it doesn't even matter about the fights. Don't get me wrong. Hell of a fight card on Saturday.
No, you're right.
Plenty to do if you can't make it into T-Mobile.
It's crazy to think back to a time a few years ago where we did 3 shows back to back to back. We had fight nights on Thursday and Friday. Brian Stan and I were like punching ourselves in the face when we had to then go work the desk Saturday for UFC 200 or whatever it was. But I don't even know if we could pull that off anymore, doing 3 straight live events with the morning weigh-ins and everything else. We've evolved a lot as a company, but it's fun to think back to the time when we maybe bit off more than we could actually chew.
All right, we're going to let
you. As you
you
look at this class, I got a question. As
Go
you
ahead.
look at this class for this year, is there anything that comes to mind for either of these athletes that are being inducted?
So the Joanna Jedrzejczyk thing is really special because for a lot of us, we predated her to the UFC. I started with the company a few years before, and then she comes along, and it's like, holy piss, I've never seen anything like this, right? And then she wins the title about a year and a half later, and she really revolutionized the women's game, even if she doesn't necessarily get the credit in totality like Ronda Rousey does. She brought a violent nature to the women's game at the highest level that we hadn't necessarily seen on the UFC stage. So that's special. Frankie Edgar's my boy, so to see him headline the class, I bet he's more nervous tonight than for any of those Gray Maynard fights that he has to take to the podium. But it's a special class, a special night, and always special to have a few minutes with you guys as well.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it, sir. Have a great week.
My man. Good to see you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
There he is, John Anik, kind enough to give us a few moments as he's going to be the MC of your UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony tonight in Las Vegas. TJ DeSantis, Pearl Gonzalez, we are live inside T-Mobile Arena. It is the site of the UFC Hall of Fame, and we're moving along. Look at this, more
Hello.
royalty. Want to throw those on for me?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. yeah.
Look at that.
Thank you.
Julianna Pena.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Hello. That's a
Great, hang on.
lifesaver. Thank you, babe. That is so cute. Is that your daughter's?
It's mine.
Give you some slack there. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Great. Thanks for
Good.
stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
It's a busy week here, and obviously walking the red carpet. Do you like things like this? Like it's not typical fight world type of affair. Do you enjoy the
Anytime I can put heels on and get dressed up and feel like a sexy ass woman, I am in it. I am all about it.
Me too. No, never mind. No.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Like we're always grimy and nasty
Right.
and going from one practice to another. We never get to wear makeup, so any excuse to dress up and do the other thing that is one of my passions is always a good time for me.
That's something that you talk a lot about, Pearl, when we call fights, especially with female athletes, is the idea of being allowed to be feminine. Obviously, you're out there in a very masculine sport, but there are times where you talk about like showing your personality, and these are great events that women can show off their
Yeah,
personality.
be
and stuff.
beautiful. Just be soft and feminine. Absolutely. She's hit it right on the nail. So, absolutely.
Anyone you're looking forward to tonight that's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Frankie Edgar has always been one that I've been a big fan of. I definitely love how he's been able to dominate in any weight class that you put him in, and he'll fight anyone. So definitely excited to see him. He's earned it, and I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, he's like the one universal fighter that we were talking about. Like, it doesn't matter who you are a fan of throughout the sport. Frankie's a guy that I think almost everybody can agree on. He was must-see TV when he's fighting, and you can't really look at anything that Frankie did inside or outside of the octagon as a negative. He was just great in every single way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think one of the things that Frankie, that stands out to me about Frankie is that he was just always a dog in every fight. And even when, unfortunately, he had to beat some of my training partners, I was still like, yeah, but it's Frankie. You know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah.
There's no shame in losing to a guy like that. He's just always been a monster, whether it was in a 155, 145. Like, he's fought in every weight class that they asked of him, and I think that that's really admirable.
So what's your week look like? Are you going to go out to the fan experience in UFC X?
Yes, I'm the fan experience for 2 days, and then I'm going to be enjoying front row seats to those fights. Absolutely.
It's a pretty great week. Like,
I'm excited, yeah. I mean,
how often do you get to be a fight fan?
more often than I would like. Let's put it that way.
Understood.
I do enjoy watching the fights, though. It's something to me that, I'm always learning. I'm always a student of the game. So anytime that I can sit there and watch high-level fights, it's an honor. It's a blessing. And so it's extremely rare that I am upset about going to see some UFC fights. In fact, I've never turned down an opportunity to go to an event. I never will. I love watching the sport. And the great thing about this is that the card has changed so much, and I think that it's changed for the better, and that's what's made it so exciting for me.
Yeah.
Is there any particular fight that you're excited about this weekend?
I am. Carlos Hernandez is going to be fighting a guy. He's the second fight of the night. He's a training partner of mine at BFS in Chicago, and so I'm really looking forward to watching him get the win and get his hand raised. Aside from that, I'm excited for Joe Pfeiffer. I can't wait to see that fight. And everybody loves a girl fight, Michelle Watterson and Savage, Jillian Robertson. I want to see that fight. And then, of course, the main event. I love Jiri, big fan of him, and Alex Pereira is just a monster.
Do you have your daughter here this weekend? You always have her with you. I admire that so much about you. Did you bring her this week?
I didn't. There's a lot of people that you meet in Las Vegas, and there's a lot of things going on, a lot of, events and things to go to. It wasn't something that I felt was, a right spot for her. But we'll be over in UFC Manchester over there in the UK for Bilal's title fight, June 27th, and I'm going to take her with me for that. So that one will probably be a little bit more tame.
Okay.
That's awesome. Obviously you're someone who's commentated fights. When you're just watching in the crowd, what's the commentary like? Like, obviously you can just let it go, but are you someone who talks a lot while you're watching fights as a fan?
It depends on how many drinks I have in
There
me.
you go.
So if I have no drinks, I'm very calm, I'm very collected. I'm not going to be screaming and going crazy. If I've had a few drinks, yeah, I'm going nuts. I'm shouting from the rooftops, and I'll say, and this goes for everybody watching, I am the best corner, undefeated in the corner. if anybody wants a good corner, they better put me in there, because anytime I've been in the corner for anyone, I have always won. And so I feel like sometimes, even though I'm like in the front row, I can still like scream and like corner people to victory, and then I'm like, ha, I did that. I totally did that. That was all me.
I love it.
So yeah, I'm always coaching all the time. It's not something that, you know, I shy away from by any means.
Well, there
A
you
little
go.
backstory about Carlos Hernandez. So I grew up with him, and when he was training, he was maybe like 6. His nickname is Pee-wee. And I don't know if you've got to meet his brothers, but he has incredible little brothers who have been training Javi and Angel and their family. They just have this huge, beautiful fight family, but his nickname is Pee-wee.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I'm going to flip him a ton of crap. We definitely don't call him Pee-wee. I think if I called him that now, he would be like so offended, because he's grown up into such a man. You know what I
he's
mean?
a little young man now, yes. But that's his nickname, and oh man, Big Carlos, I love them. They're just a beautiful family.
Absolutely. I'm excited about his fight. I'm hoping all good things for him.
Amen.
Awesome. Julianna, appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of the week.
You guys have a good one. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having
Thank
me.
you.
Julianna Pena, kind enough to join us here as we are just shy of the red carpet inside T-Mobile Arena, the site of
Thank
the
you.
2024 UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm TJ DeSantis. This here is Pearl Gonzalez. And the celebrities are coming through fast and furious, Pearl.
I know, they are. What an exciting night so far.
Are you a good cornerman?
Why didn't you tell me I had lipstick on my teeth?
Because I wasn't looking at your teeth, to be honest with you. Okay, good. They're not there now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You know what? You're not a good sidekick right now.
Well, I'm the host. You're the sidekick. So I'm going to go with that.
Fair.
I'm going to go with that.
Okay, well, next time.
You're not a very good sidekick.
You know what?
You had lipstick on your teeth. See, Julianna Pena hooked you up. She had a little mirror
I know,
thing.
a little mirror was fire.
Yeah, I avoid mirrors at all costs.
Oh, come on.
So, are you a good cornerman?
I am. I'm actually a really good cornerman, but it's not something I necessarily enjoy. I'm very good at it. You have to be very direct and very clear. I feel like some athletes can use words, but there are some athletes that actually need movements and can visually be cornered a little better than people vocally. And so you kind of have to find what your athlete likes. And so I think that I'm just very mindful, and I can watch and observe. And yeah, absolutely. But I don't do it too often.
Yeah, I've always sort of thought about, what it would be like to be in there and, fight yourself, and then have to, take that hat off and do it as a corner person. And a lot of athletes that I talk to say they kind of feel helpless in the corner because you can't really do anything. You can impart wisdom, but it's like playing a video game and you don't have the controller.
It is. It's kind of it's fascinating, kind of like what she was saying when that feeling she gets when they win the fight. You can call something, or you'll see something, and you can tell the athlete, and the athlete can hear, and you're literally communicating while they're fighting, and you're on the outside. It's just a really beautiful experience.
I know you're a big tape study person, though, so
Yes.
that's something that I think you like to scout out people, don't you?
I just like to study the movements and the dynamics of what's happening in the moment, and kind of watch how people adjust. Most importantly, so I do. I love studying. But I don't necessarily think I'm sitting there cornering them. I'm kind of trying to figure out why are they doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that's why you are actually a pretty good sidekick. When we call fights together, you basically do all the homework. You watch all the athletes for me and then give me the bullet points, which I appreciate, which you can do at home as well. Right now, pretty great offer going on at UFC Fight Pass. You can get an entire year, save 35% off, just $61.99 on the annual plan. So go sign up right now. You get over 200 live events a year. Not just in mixed martial arts, in boxing, jiu-jitsu, all sorts of stuff. Hollywood Fight Nights, you can see me and Pearl on the call. We just called boxing. And I've really fallen in love with boxing. I know you've done some boxing over the last couple of years. I've called some boxing. While our experiences are much different, I don't get hit in the face when I do it. But I've really grown to appreciate the sweet science.
Oh my goodness, I love boxing. My ability to kind of just hone those skills and focus solely on boxing for the last couple of years has been really amazing. It really has given me a whole new perspective and love for boxers and boxing, because in MMA we are so blessed to be able to show up one morning and you do your boxing, and then maybe a couple hours later you've got your wrestling, and then you've got this or that, and there's all these different pieces to the puzzle. In boxing, you show up, and 9 out of 10 times you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you really have to find motivation, and you have to find these little beautiful details that you wouldn't necessarily need to focus on in MMA because you're focused on something else. So yes, it's an incredible, beautiful sport. I am so happy that I get to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I mentioned, boxing on UFC Fight Pass. I feel like mixed martial arts is obviously what brought us all to the table. Because of the success of the UFC, I think some of these single-disciplined, combat sport arts have gotten a whole new fan base as well. I think there's a lot more MMA fans that are getting into boxing. I think we've seen a swell of MMA fans become more interested in jiu-jitsu, and the jiu-jitsu community is thriving, and you can see great events on UFC Fight Pass. It's an exciting time to not just be a UFC fan, but a combat sports fan as a whole. And for like under $62, you get everything on UFC Fight Pass for a whole year.
There are so many fights on Fight Pass. It's incredible. Like that's all I really watch is fights, and you can go back and watch all these amazing fights. It is absolutely amazing.
A guy that has dipped his toe in the boxing world, not only him but his sons as well, is Anderson Silva. Anderson getting honored tonight with his fight with Chael Sonnen. It's exciting to see Anderson's boys box, and we've seen them on UFC Fight Pass as well, and it's just exciting to see the next generation come up, and that's really what Fight Pass is all about. Obviously, it's the present. We have, all these great, fights and active fighters in the UFC. We see the prelims and whatnot on Fight Pass, but like where my sort of value in all of it is it's seeing the future come up through the ranks of, Cage Fury or Fury FC or LFA. In the MMA space. And again, in boxing, we mentioned Callum Walsh. It's exciting to see all of these hungry competitors on the come up before they reach greatness, and you kind of get the opportunity to say, yeah, I was on that guy's bandwagon long before you heard about him, buddy.
Yeah, and you're a part of their career. You're supporting them. It's a big part, especially early on in your career, as you're figuring out your puzzle pieces, as you're overcoming some of the challenges and unique things that you've never been through and experiences. It's so exciting to witness them evolve, to watch them evolve in moments and key moments. I thought Callum had his best performance that I've seen yet this last time, and just to kind of, if you look at his storyline of his fighting, it's incredible to see. Yeah,
now Callum in Vegas this week for IFW, sparring and getting some work in with Giga Chikadze. That's interesting. I can't wait to see the day, and it's going to be a long time in the future, but there's going to be a day where Callum goes, all right, let's try this MMA thing out. And for good reason. I think he's a huge MMA fan, and we're starting to see him, get a
dabble in a little bit.
He's dating Tabitha Ricci. Of course he's going to be interested in mixed martial arts. And obviously he was a UFC fan to begin with. But it's exciting to see him navigate the boxing waters, and know that I think his MMA debut is an inevitability.
Absolutely. It would be unique to see it. I really like the boxing. I think that right now I don't even want to imagine him on the MMA side, but you're right. It would be very unique to see him come over. Someone like Terrence Crawford or something that would come over into MMA, I think would do fairly well. Even actually Alicia Baumgardner, who is the unified 130-pound champion in boxing, she wrestled in Michigan up until she was in high school. So you bring in a girl like that into MMA, and she said she wanted to make her debut in the UFC. So you bring in a woman like that into the division. That is very intriguing. So I can see why you are intrigued.
What was it like for you to sort of leave the kicks and the knees and the elbows behind and start to focus solely on boxing? What was that like for you after this long MMA career?
It was challenging. It was very challenging because the stance is completely different. The structure, the defense, the shell, the way that where you place your hands is so different and unique, and it's still something that constantly has to be adjusted. I still have a lot of grappling tendencies. When I get close, you want to square off and tie up. In boxing, you really would prefer to. It's best if you always stay bladed. If you're always in your boxing stance and you're keeping that space and distance. So it's so challenging. It's so difficult because I've always and always will be a grappler at heart.
Now, we've seen a lot of stars come over to mixed martial arts from single disciplines and do really well, and you want an example of that. Look no further than the UFC's light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira, going to defend his title again coming up this Saturday night, part of UFC 303, but a very long and rich kickboxing history, and we see his brilliance still on the feet inside the octagon, but now doing it in mixed martial arts, his striking is carried over phenomenally well into the MMA space.
Oh my goodness, his ability to maintain his range, to keep his range, to control the range is absolutely incredible. This fight this weekend will make him have more title fights, I believe, in the UFC. It may be his entire career, but he'll have more title fights than he did regular fights. Is that insane?
Yeah,
or is not?
No, it goes back to the idea that I think that this guy was a UFC Hall of Famer by like his 6th fight in the UFC. You know what I mean? And when you're at the upper end of the division, you're going to have more title fights than regular fights before too long, and that's the thing. We're talking about a champion in 2 different weight classes in such a short amount of time, and we're going to see another phenomenal match with him and Yuri Prochazka. They talk a lot about fighters changing from one meeting to the next. What do you think about the idea that Pereira is different than he was the last time he fought Yuri, and vice versa? Because this was a fight that didn't happen all that long ago. Do you think we can expect significantly different fighters than we saw back in New York?
I do believe that the way that Alex trains, part of what makes Alex so great is the way that he trains. He is such a hard worker. He's nonstop in the gym. He hasn't allowed for the fame, never has really allowed for the fame. I mean, he's just one of those workers that needs to stay in the gym, and he's constantly evolving. And I do believe that we have yet to see the progression of his grappling and the progression of what he's been working on in the room as hard as he works. On top of that, you've got to add that there's no doubt that confidence is building for him where he's at in his position, in his life, in his fight career today. The confidence has to be building, and we know that when it comes to fight, these men are both so talented and skilled. It boils down to on fight night, who is mentally focused, who is mentally there, and the confidence that it really does make it interesting as Alex's confidence grows, how his fights are even more unique.
Now, for Yuri, he knows that he can be put down and put out by Pereira. What do you think his mindset's going to be come Saturday?
I think that Giga is such a very interesting individual. If you watch his last fight, and the last fight, the way that I view Giga is he's this beautiful, intelligent, just like this fantastic dynamic striker, right? And he fights really long, and he has this crazy, the spinning back elbow that knocked out Dominic Reyes. But when you watch his last fight that he had at the same time Alex did on 300, he had I would say it was a very dirty fight. It was a messy fight. They were both back and forth. They were in and out of ranges. They at points threw all of their technique out the window and just went to war. And that is, a big part of, I believe, what Giga stands for. He's a warrior, and he will go to war, and he will throw the skills and the arts out the way and go and fight. And so he had a lot of success in that first round with Alex. So I do believe he has confidence there. But we will see. We'll see how this goes. I think long range, he is a very scary man for anyone. He's so creative with the way that he enters and he strikes and he finds his targets. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Prochazka, the underdog at plus 130. Do you think the line's right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I think that Alex knows he has the ability to put Giga out, and he also has had a couple fights since Giga where it's boosted his confidence. I mean, there's no doubt every single fight you gain experience, whether it be walking into the arena, going through the fight week as a champion. Like, he has a lot more experience this time and confidence.
He's done so much in such a short amount of time here inside the octagon. I'm curious, Pearl, do you think he's feeling the pressure? Because this is a short notice fight. He is the champion. He's taken on a very dangerous guy, albeit he owns a win over him. But I can't imagine the amount of pressure coming into this fight week. It's got to be pretty intense.
I can't imagine it either. And as an athlete and as a fighter, there's no doubt that you feel the pressure. You feel I don't know, some view it as pressure, some view it as challenge, right? You feel that, but I think that if there is anybody that is able and willing and probably enjoys that pressure and that challenge, it's probably Alex Pereira.
How's your Portuguese?
It's getting better.
Really?
Yeah, eu falo muito pouquito português. That was a little bit of Spanish, but we're not going to tell anybody.
Okay, I'm going to have to look that up, I think, in the future, because I have no idea what you said. Something about...
I said I'm speaking a little bit of Portuguese.
A little bit of Portuguese. All I heard was pequeno.
Okay, let me see. Pequeno.
Is that what you said?
No.
Okay, I'm just making words up now. We are live here inside T-Mobile Arena. Look at that man. He's the answer, Frankie
Hello,
Edgar.
Frankie, how are you,
Kind enough
sir?
to give us a few moments. I will give you that, sir. Turn you up here. Frankie, we were talking about this earlier. You're a guy that, you kind of brought the old lunch pail to the octagon with you. Went to work, weren't afraid of any man, and, you weren't a guy that really commanded the spotlight in the way of tactics. You weren't a guy that were trying to, call people out and say crazy things and sell T-shirts. What is it like when the world stops and puts a spotlight on you and celebrates your career? Is it something that you enjoy, or are you able to enjoy it?
Try my best to enjoy it. Like I said, I'm not really an attention guy. I wrote a speech, though. It's going to be long, I guess. So, people wanted me to talk. Well, now I'm going to talk.
How much do you practice the speech?
I practice a couple of times. I don't want to overdo it. There's a teleprompter.
Right,
so
of course.
I'm reading it. I can read it good enough, so I think I'll be all right.
Did you write it all by yourself?
I mean, it's my words.
Right.
I dictated it to somebody. Somebody wrote it down, but it's my words, and it's just from the heart. And I'm not the best speaker, but it's going to be from me.
I like that. I mean, that's what we want, right?
Yeah, it's real.
So I have a question for you, Frankie. Why kick in the door?
The most shady, Frankie baby. It's kind of made sense to me, and it says Frankie in the song a couple times, and you rain on top of short leprechauns. It's kind of was fitting for the moment, and then it just stuck for me.
And you just kept it the rest of the ride.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I see you have some marks on your face. You still training?
I am still training. Yes, guy got 6 stitches about a week ago.
My
I can't
goodness.
help myself.
Dang.
Yeah.
Who are you training with?
Just guys in the gym. Young guys trying to help them out. That's all.
There you go. I'm curious. Your entry into mixed martial arts, when I look at it, like 2004, 2005, they got rid of the lightweight division. It was not even a thing. You had to be 170 pounds or higher. You're from the East Coast. For a good chunk, most of your career, New York wasn't even on the table. What led you to MMA to where you thought, this could actually be a career for me? Because it seemed like there were a lot of oppositions that would say, hey, maybe you should go focus on something else other than prize fighting.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Ultimate Fighter that really, got me interested, and seeing Josh Koscheck, we wrestled in the same conference. That's when I was like, hey, I'm going to give this a try. And then I started fighting locally. But, I remember UFC 55 wasn't even a division. Yeah. So I thought if I was going to fight professionally, I was going to have to fight in Japan. And that was kind of like the goal. And then when they added it, I'm like, all right, that plans changed a little bit. And I was doing well in the local circuit, tried out for the Ultimate Fighter, didn't make it, but eventually led to getting noticed by Joe and Dana, and I took that short notice fight against Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, what UFC was that against Tyson Griffin?
UFC 67.
67, wow. That's crazy. That's like a whole nother generation compared to what we got going on these days.
It's I can't believe it went by as fast as it did.
What's your favorite moment? Do you have a favorite, night in your career?
I mean, winning the title always takes the cake. Being the best in the world, first time you won it, but that, and I think Gray Maynard 3, the way the finish and emphatic win after a hard-fought trilogy, that always sticks out to me.
We were talking about some of our favorite moments of yours, and I had to bring up the durability that you had to call upon in the Gray Maynard fights. Like, a lot of guys don't come back, but that was emblematic of like who you were as a fighter, like blue-collar guy, not afraid to get your hands dirty, and I feel like that Gray Maynard, don't get me wrong, the BJ Penn fights were great, but like that Gray Maynard trilogy and the rivalry there, I think that's a huge part of your story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what everybody talks about. When people ask me about my fights, I want to talk about fights, it's those fights in particular.
So as you look, and you're here tonight for your UFC Hall of Fame, and you look kind of back and reflect on your career, is your career what you dreamed it would be when you were in the wrestling room deciding to go professional in professional mixed martial arts?
I mean, when I first got into it, I didn't know what to expect. The sport was still so new. But I knew as soon as I got in that I wanted to be a champion. So, yeah, I'd say mission accomplished.
You
know?
did, too.
I mean, I would have never been satisfied. I'm that type of guy. I wanted to win every fight, never lose. So I definitely look back at some of the losses and say, I wish I could have, would have, all type of stuff. But in the end, I mean, what I accomplished, I'm proud of, and I really have no regrets. You know, I did everything the right way, and if I didn't win, it's because the other guy was better than me, and that's just it.
And just to kind of, you were a part of the evolution of the sport, right? You were in the early days till recent days, and kind of to be a part of that and how the sport has evolved and to play such a significant factor in that. Did you imagine that this is the role that you would play? I mean, you're in the Hall of Fame. You're a legend to not only my generation of fighters, but to the ones that are coming. They're watching you. They want to be like you. I hear that so many times. Did you know that Islam, you're his favorite fighter?
Yeah, no, I did hear that, and that's awesome because he's amazing, and I'm such a big fan of him, obviously. He actually was just near my hometown getting ready for that last fight, so my son got to work out with him and stuff, which is so cool. But, yeah, I never really thought – I didn't know what to expect. Like I said, sport was so new, but I just know that the type of person I am, the work I put in, and good things get rewarded, I guess, and here we are. I'm in the Hall of Fame with some of the legends that I looked up to, when I first started this, so it's surreal.
Well-deserved, Frankie Edgar. You get your time in the spotlight tonight, and congrats on a Hall of Fame career.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. Thank you.
Guys.
Frankie Edgar, kind enough to join us here at the UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony of the pre-show. Right next to the red carpet, you're going to see Frankie get inducted later tonight. And, again, one of the greatest to ever do it. And it's just exciting to have a few moments with these guys before they become immortalized in the Hall of Fame. And, again, he's got to be on the short list for everybody, I think, as far as, favorite guys to watch fight and even a better human being.
Yeah, and he was one of those guys that really didn't become a part of the trash talk. He wasn't, he was just such a humble man inside and outside of the octagon, and so you can't help but love and admire him and his career.
He must be really patient with the kids, too. Do you see how much they were pushing buttons there? I'm like,
they were
dude,
playing with his hair.
man,
He didn't even flinch.
Nah.
That is so funny.
Yeah. Good guy, Frankie Edgar. He gets his moment in the spotlight tonight as he's inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. One of the greatest lightweights to ever do it. And, again, we were talking about the barriers of entry for the UFC. He thought he was going to have to fight in Japan. I mean, how crazy is that there was a time in the sport where Frankie Edgar in the UFC wasn't even a possibility?
It's insane. And then to see kind of where the sport is today, I mean, he played such a huge part in the growth of this. It's amazing. It really is amazing to kind of witness this.
It's fitting that Frankie go in on the same night where another trailblazer goes in, and Joanna Jedrzejczyk, because, women in the UFC was a long shot. And then when we finally got women, it was like, okay, makes sense to have 35-pounders. Chris Cyborg is out there. Maybe you get a 45-pound division. But I didn't see a 115-pound division for the longest time coming, and obviously we've had strawweights in the UFC now for about a decade, and Pearl, more often than not, I feel like the 115-pound ladies end up stealing the show. No matter how big the fights are on the card on paper, it seems like the strawweights always come to scrap and steal the show.
Oh my goodness. Well, I believe that the 115, the strawweight division, is probably the deepest pool of talent. Probably one of the most common weights for women, and so the talent in that division is incredible. So yeah, you're right. We do get a lot of great fights and a lot of fight of the nights and these spectacular moments from that division, and I believe it's because it's our deepest one.
Yeah, and Forrest brought it up earlier. Joanna kind of picked up the torch for the 115-pound women that Ronda kind of sparked for the women at 135, and I think that's a fair sort of title. Joanna is kind of the Ronda Rousey of 115 pounds when it comes to carrying and building the sport, and I'm sure that there's some, up-and-coming fighters that are, remembering the days when they were little girls at home, seeing Joanna going, I can do that. I can be a mixed martial artist. I can fight in the UFC, and I'm sure she's inspired many to, give it a good old run themselves.
Absolutely. She will continue to inspire, too, I believe. And you're right. She did. She plays a role like Ronda did. She brought such a different dynamic than Ronda did. She was so vicious and ferocious. and deadly with her strikes and accurate and a specialist. And so it was really, really unique as she started to dominate her division and just kind of reign during her reign, and dominating that. It's incredible. It's amazing. I think that it's so deserving. I don't know if you remember when she did get inducted that night, or she found out she was being inducted. She was in tears.
Yeah.
And that just shows you know, how much and how passionate and how much of her heart she put into the sport.
Yeah, because again, we talk about it. This isn't a sport that you can really do on the weekends. I mean, yeah, you can make it a small part of your life, but you can't get to this level. You can't pen a legacy that is going to be one that is celebrated for years to come without giving everything you have to it. And I think that flood of emotion that you're talking about that Joanna displayed when she got the notice, I mean, that's got to mean almost more than a title in so many ways, because once you're in the Hall of Fame, that's not a nod that happened by accident. You know, this is a sport where anybody can win on any given night. But to be in the Hall of Fame, you have to do so many things that are going to be celebrated for years to come. It's a pretty big title.
Absolutely, and she was a pioneer. She really was. I really believe that she helped evolve the women's division, period, women's MMA, with her skills and her abilities. And she was such a specialist, and she came into and broke down barriers from being a striker and found her pieces that she needed for the puzzle. And man, did she make it happen for herself in a vicious, dominant way. And so I think that many people can go back. I know for me, when I talk to newer athletes that are getting involved, that are maybe, you know, heavy strikers and striking specialists, she is my go-to, who I suggest they go and watch and just kind of witness the way that she put it together. She was able to really execute her striking and figure out how to deal with the grappling without really understanding grappling. What an incredible woman, and what a unique woman to be able to do that. She stopped, I mean, her first title, when she won the title, she stopped probably one of women's best wrestlers in Carla Esparza. Yep. She was an incredible wrestler, and Carla couldn't even get close to her in that fight.
No.
I mean, it was such an interesting, you know, tool set and skill set and mindset that she brought to the women's division.
No, 100%. And, you know, obviously you know this better than anybody, being a mixed martial arts yourself, but, like, when you tell regular day-to-day people what you do for a living, that you're a professional athlete, when you're a woman in general, it's like, okay, that's interesting. But then when you tell them what your sport is, it's like, wait, what? You do what? And I feel like Joanna was one that sort of made it normal for female combat sports athletes to go, yeah, this is what I do. Was it ever weird for you to try to tell someone what you do for a living as a pro mixed martial artist? Because I can't imagine that everyone hears that and goes, okay, that's normal. Like,
no, I don't like to talk about it.
Do you hide it?
Yeah, I say I'm a physical therapist.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't want to talk about it.
You just don't want to talk about it? Like,
no.
You don't want the attention, or?
Yeah, I think when I'm in, like, everyday life, and I think that specifically men, then it's like, can you choke me out? Yes, I can. And usually if I wrap my arms around you, I'm not going to stop until you're sleeping. So there's that, you know.
Sorry I asked.
But, like, I don't know. I think that you're viewed very differently as a fighter. And
it's not a quick conversation, right?
No, it's not a quick conversation. And so I think for me, I prefer, for now, I'm sure at some point I'll love to talk about it, but I'm also a very humble person. I don't really like to talk about myself. I just say I make things up. Sometimes I say I'm a physical therapist, and sometimes I say other things. I'm a bartender.
All right. Fair enough. All right, I like it. Guys really want to be choked out, though. That's weird.
Yeah, and they do. They get choked up.
I know. I've seen it. Seen it before. I mean, you know, you're just giving in sometimes. You gotta.
Sometimes you just
sometimes
give
they
them
deserve
what they
it,
want.
right?
Give them what they want.
Yeah. We are live here inside T-Mobile Arena. It is the site of the 2024 UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm TJ DeSantis. That's Pearl Gonzalez. Appreciate you joining us. We just getting our week started. Like, we haven't even started to scratch the surface We've got 2 full days at UFC X going down. It's International Fight Week, an experience unlike any other in combat sports. And if you are in the area, we implore you to come out to the convention center tomorrow. Pearl says she's going to beat me at some contest we have yet to figure out.
No, you said you were going to beat me.
Well, okay, sorry. You said you were going to take me on in a competition. I said I'm going to beat you in said competition. Positive mindset, Pearl.
Yes,
You know?
yes, I love it.
Yeah, so
You
come.
better keep that mindset tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you just talked about choking people out, so now I'm starting to think that maybe I shouldn't try to poke the bear here. Maybe you might be competitive. I don't know.
Maybe.
Are you competitive?
I don't know. Will it make you feel good if you win?
As long as no harm comes to my person, it'll make me feel good.
Okay,
yeah.
fine. I'll let you win.
Okay, perfect. Sounds
Maybe
good.
once.
Just once.
Yeah.
All right.
Although I think the last time we went to, what was that one, the game place we went to?
Dave & Buster's?
Yeah, and you beat me in whatever game we played, and I was so sure I was going to win.
I'm pretty good at Dave & Buster's games.
Yeah, you beat me in it. You
Yeah.
really kicked my butt so bad.
Yeah. I have a son. I have to go a lot. Yeah. It's his 13th birthday, by the way.
Is it? Does he do what Frankie's sons do?
No, he probably wouldn't care. He'd be like, yeah, my dad does that. Let's go play video games. So.
13, huh?
I know, I hate it.
Wow.
I hate
That's
it.
amazing.
Yeah. So, happy birthday to my son Oliver.
Birthday,
He's at Universal
Oliver.
right now. He's having fun.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Are you gonna do anything special when you get home?
No, he went to Universal, so I didn't have to. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I know you're jelly. You want to be there.
No, I'm good here. I'm good. I mean, this is my theme park, you know.
Fair.
It's the greatest week in combat sports. So.
Well, happy birthday, Oliver.
Yeah. 13 years old.
Oh my goodness.
I hope I can have the patience of one Frankie Edgar.
That was so funny to watch his boys do that.
Absolutely. That's the other thing too. You know, we talked about Anderson Silva. His son's getting involved in combat sports. He mentioned his boys were working out with Islam Makhachev.
Right.
Like, how interesting is that as a young kid to be able to not only have a superstar for a parent in combat sports, but to have the door open to work out with someone like Islam? Like, that's a pretty cool experience.
Oh my goodness. And even like this week, if you watch all of like the UFC stuff, Alex's sons are being highlighted right now because they trained. They've been training their whole life, and they said on an interview that they will fight out UFC 400. Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
And it shows them sparring and how involved they are and he is in their career. It is really cool. I think that is such a unique connection. Even like a Brock Lesnar and his daughter and how successful she is. And there has to be such a connection. I know for me with my dad didn't fight, but he was very involved in my career, and he would watch me and he would sit there and was as involved as he could be without actually knowing it. I can only imagine if he actually trained and knew the skills, how much closer that would have made our relationship. So I think it's a really interesting and unique because you get to learn from one of the GOATs.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then create your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and man, if you were the son of Frankie Edgar, like you're automatically the coolest kid in school.
Absolutely.
I would think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For show and tell, you just pull up Fight Pass. This is my dad. That's what I would do at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Again, we are live tonight here inside T-Mobile Arena, the site of the UFC Hall of Fame ceremony, class of 2024. Let's go through rapid fire our inductees. We mentioned Frankie Edgar. He is going in, as is Joanna Jedrzejczyk. We will see an old school Pride legend get his just deserves as the axe murderer, Wanderlei Silva. He goes in tonight, as does another Pride veteran and former teammate of Wanderlei, Mauricio Shogun Hua, former UFC light heavyweight champion. He gets the nod, and then a fight between two icons going to go into the fight wing as Anderson Silva will be honored for his fight with Chael Sonnen. It is so interesting to talk about that fight, Pearl, because, again, Chael's not the one who got his hand raised, but both of those men became so much better for marketability reasons, for icon reasons, legendary status. Chael might not have got his hand raised that night, but he won in so many ways.
Absolutely, he really did, and I think it helped the sport really grow. I think that, again, it showcased what entertainment, a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of drama, a little bit of rivalry can do to these fights and how exciting it can make it. But what also doesn't get talked about is, yes, there's that selling point, and that really helps But the rivalry and the actual fight, I know for me, when I have a real rivalry with a woman, they are the best fights. They're the most fun fights because you're screaming at each other. You're really trying to hurt each other. It's just an incredible feeling, unlike any other fight.
Yeah, I mean, rivalries, they say, like, styles make great fights, you know, but rivalries make legendary fights.
Absolutely. I love that. That I agree with.
Yeah, and it doesn't get much better than Silva Sonnen 1. And, you know, honestly, we were talking about it with Forrest Griffin. Like, I think a lot of people, for better or for worse, try to emulate the personality of someone like Chael. And for some, it works. You know, take the inspiration, but like do your own thing. You can't just be Chael Sonnen because Chael was one of a kind. And if you say the same things that he did, it's going to be apparent you're trying to be Chael Sonnen. But you know, Chael literally showed the entire world how you can go from being kind of under the radar guy who doesn't really talk a lot on the microphone to absolutely owning the microphone. And no one sold a fight quite like Chael Sonnen.
No, and again, he still is a blueprint of how to sell a fight and how to create these rivalries. And, man, he was so good at it. You know, whether you wanted him to win or not, you were tuning in. And that, at the end of the day, is what's most important, is you want people that don't want you to win, and you want people that want you to win. You just want everyone to tune in. And he was able to reach those people and to get and pull that and draw that kind of emotions. And then those are the fights that are, again, legendary, like you said.
No, absolutely. So we honor that fight tonight. And, again, kind of gives us an opportunity to look at something we're doing this weekend, all part of International Fight Week. We're looking at some of the greatest rivalries in UFC history. We've actually mapped them out. You want to look at our tournament bracket? This is going to be fun. We're going to actually open up fan voting here so people can tell us who they think should win and whatnot. We've got I'll go through the matchups for you, Pearl.
Okay.
We've got Khabib versus Conor. That's the number one seed.
That's number one?
That takes that's the number one seed. That takes on Bisping versus Henderson.
Okay.
And then we've got Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw is the number 4 seed. That goes up against the number 5 seed in Dominic Cruz and Uriah Faber.
Okay.
And then we've got the number 3 seed as McGregor versus Diaz. That takes on Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard.
Okay.
Then we got the aforementioned Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva. That's the number 2 seed. It goes up against the number 7 seed in Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos.
Okay.
And then we go to the right side of the bracket, number 1 seed on the right side, John Jones against Daniel Cormier.
Nice.
That takes on the number 8 seed in Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. And then we got the number 4 seed, Rousey versus Tate, taking on the number 5 seed in St. Pierre versus Hughes.
Nice.
And then we've got Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. That's the number 3 seed, taking on the number 6 seed in BJ Penn versus George St. Pierre. And then rounding out the opening round, Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz versus Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. So,
all right.
what do you think?
Can I just say which one's my favorites?
Please.
All right, so the Chael Sonnen Silva is definitely one of my favorites. Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Tate was a fun one. Nate Diaz, Conor. Khabib, Conor.
That's it?
That can come to mind right
Perfect.
now, yes.
I think those are good. I think the one that is seeded properly will probably win. Number 1 seed, right side of the bracket, John Jones, Daniel Cormier.
That was such a fun one, too.
Yeah.
That was I mean, it's still going on. How fun is that?
It's never going to end.
It's so fun.
Yeah. I would like to see those two play, like, just a very, like, fun child's game.
I was going to say, like a dad's game.
Something, you know, whether
Like
it's...
what? Like checkers?
It could be checkers. It could be like a board game. I like that. It could be horseshoes, bocce ball.
How about dodgeball?
See, now we're going to get a fight. When we start throwing things, now we're going to get a fight.
I think they both play golf?
I know DC definitely does. I feel like John Jones is probably pretty great at anything athletically. So.
Okay, so we need something better. Maybe like dancing. Dancing with the Stars.
Ooh, that would be good.
I think so.
You know, DC's got to have the footwork from being a wrestler. You know,
Maybe,
he's got moves.
or not.
No, I think he's got it.
Maybe. We'll have to ask him.
I remember I went to my high school prom. I gave away my date on the radio because no one wanted to go to prom with me. But I remember I could tell who all the wrestlers were because they were just shooting far out double legs on the dance floor. And people were like, oh, look at that dance move. It's like, they're shooting double legs. Like, what are you talking about? So I didn't dance. I stayed away from it. Oh, I'm going to dance this way, though. We got another guest?
Oh, yeah, we have Pantoja.
Ah, there we go. Have a seat.
Oh, yes. Hello, how are you? Good to see you.
I'll give you this one right here.
I wish. I wish we had a video game. Not today.
Why do you play?
I like the UFC game, and I also...
UFC?
Yes.
You play UFC?
Yes.
So hard.
It is so hard, but
My
it's so
kids
engaging.
beat me all the time.
This is my problem with the UFC video game. There's head movement, okay? A lot of fighters can't move their head to begin with. Why do I have to move my head at
I
home?
don't move my head moving in the fight. What am I going to do in the video game?
So how are you?
I'm very well, very glad to be part of the evening like that. Wanderlei Silva, Shogun, Anderson Silva. It's hard to be a Brazilian fighter when you have names like that,
Yeah.
The expect in Brazil is so high. Everybody wants to see a new Anderson Silva, a new Wanderlei, a new Jose Aldo. It's tough to be a fighter in Brazil, If you lose, it's better you delete your Instagram.
Well, I think it was a time though where they were so dominant, Brazilian fighters, and today, if we look at kind of all of our divisions and our champions, you being one of them, you guys are still there. So it has to give you some kind of inspiration or motivation that you're still representing for the Brazil.
Times like that, it's so hard to defend the belt a couple times.
Yeah.
The world is small right now because you have an internet. If you're a good fighter and you fight in Chechnya, UFC gonna bring it to you for the roast, It's hard to keep the belt, A lot of good names, a lot of good fighters, guys come from everywhere. It's gonna be tough times for the champions,
Yeah, I'm curious. As a Brazilian, do you feel like this is, in a way, mixed martial arts is a national sport for you? Because you look at, jiu-jitsu and the Gracie challenges, and Vale Tudo goes back. I mean, Helio Gracie fought on national television in Brazil in the 50s. You know what I mean? Does it feel like this is a Brazilian's sport?
Culture. Culture. A culture from Brazil. Fighting,
Oh, culture. Culture. Yeah.
And but what I see, what I have, what I Poitin have, what the guys go to the Hall family today have is something like a hard times make it strong men, In Brazil, you have hard times, Right now, in Brazil, you have a civil war, Hard times in Brazil every time, And I think that's something I have what my opponents did have, Something hustle, something. I'm 34 right now, And I come from far away to that place today, to the red carpet. And I fight behind the octagon, I fight for the opportunity, I fight for my family. 2 years ago, that history everybody know about. I work for the delivery food and everything, because after that, that's my sacrifice in my life. Stay without my family, My family still in Brazil. I'm still without my family for 8 months. In that time, I have 2 kids, my wife, and for me, that's a sacrifice. My life is still without my family, That's break my heart, That's so tough for me. And that's something you need to sacrifice to get that position, And some guys don't have that, I think the Jedrzejczyk is a very good fighter, but he don't have that, He don't have a hard time. I don't know about, but maybe he did the sacrifice like I did, He's a very good fighter, very talented guy, very disciplined. But something I have, something more, I want too much that, And I know he can be a champion, maybe when I retire. But yeah, and I'm very proud about my division right now. We have very good names. A couple years ago, people talk a lot of. I can say bad word here.
You can, yeah.
People talk a lot of shit about my division, and now you see a lot of fans defend hey, shut your mouth, you are casual, you don't understand. If you don't like the flyweight fight, you can watch MMA, you know, because it's so interesting, you know. The fight's never boring, you know, so fast. The guys have good wrestling, good card. To be a good fighter in the flyweight division, you need to be good in all the parts of the game, you know. Super happy, super proud about myself. 3 title fights. I win very tough guys. Number 1, number 2. The guys take the number 10. And that's very hard to fight with the number 10. The guys just have 12 fights.
Right.
He cut the weight 12 times.
Yep.
You know, he don't have war like I did. 3 times to Moreno, 2 times to Breno Rival, Manel Capi, Askar Karov, Davidson Figueiredo, Alex Perez, Matt Chanel, you know. And then fresh blood, you know. That's hard for me. He's tall, good he's long, yeah.
Yep, range.
When I tried to hit 1 time, he hit me twice. Tough fight, you know, but super I'm very proud about myself, what I did, and I'm ready to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you, now as you're here for this Hall of Fame with Wanderlei and Shogun, do you remember when you first started, were they 2 athletes that you wanted to fight like, or did they help you kind of get involved in the sport or anything?
I remember to watch the guys in Pride. Time, oh my God, you know, kick in the head, step in the head in the match. I love to watch the guys. Remember, I like to say that I feel like an old guy. I'm a old school guy, but I'm still on, you know, for the new generation. And that's so cool because a lot of fights from Brazil know about me, you know. And now I'm the champion of the world, and everyone can figure out I can be a champion too, you know, because if Pantoja did that, I'm not good in the cameras, I'm not good to social media, you know. I'm a fighter, you know, I'm good in the octagon. And that's why people realize you just need to be a good fighter, you just need to win your fights, you know. That's why that's what I think. I need to win my fights, that's why I come to be a champion, you know. Some guys talk very well. UFC is a good entertainment for everyone, and he deserves fight for that belt because he's very popular, you know. But I prove if you're a good fighter, you believe in yourself, win your fight, and you have a chance to get a champion.
Well, anytime you're putting the gloves on, stepping in the octagon, we're watching, and we appreciate you stopping by. Thank you.
I'm ready to go. Thank you.
Awesome. Alexandre Pantoja, flyweight champion of the world, kind enough to join us here on Extra Rounds as we continue our day here live inside T-Mobile Arena, the site of the 2024 UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And, yeah, I mean, again, we talk about Pantoja, a guy who is the king of the 125-pound division. Like, mixed martial arts has gone through so many changes and so many, you know, evolutionary periods, and it's great to see flyweights shine in the way that they do. And man, I look at all the divisions, Pearl. I think that 125 pounds might be the hardest division to lord over because those guys are so talented and so well-rounded that if you're going to be a guy in the upper echelon at flyweight, you need to have obviously technique, you need to have speed, you need to have power, and these guys at 125, they're the total package, and they make it incredibly difficult for the judges when they go the distance in really competitive fights because, man, they're so fast. There's like so many different little fights going on in one 5-round fight between those guys. One round can be so drastically different. Like, Brandon Moreno has been in some of the most competitive, contentious fights ever, and he seems like a guy that's never going to go away from the top of the 125-pound division. I got to think that to be a flyweight champion for a long time really says a lot about who you are, and you're petting a legacy that lasts if you can lord over that division for a long time.
Absolutely, and kind of what Pantoja said was he talked about, you know, his heart and the humble beginnings that he had and the grit that it builds in him. And when you have fights like that, when they're nonstop, you have to have the ability to make decisions under pressure, and the pace is chaotic, so you have to thrive in chaos. And so it's a very different division, and it's such a talented, and they move so fast. And it is interesting. It's very interesting with the men's flyweight division.
Listening to Pantoja talk about, his humble beginnings, like there's something to be said about an athlete that has gone from rags to riches, right? Like the biggest momentum, because we talk about it's a team sport and how, there's the family bonds between you and your training partners. But when you come from humble beginnings and you can see a path through the octagon to not only changing your fortune, but your entire family, is like, man, you're fighting for so much on fight night, a lot more than just the precious, gems and medals of a gold belt.
Absolutely. A lot of times you're fighting for your family, to change your family's life. But it makes it that much sweeter. I think it makes the journey that much sweeter, especially having a deep and very clear understanding of what your purpose is. And, at the end of the day, it can't get any worse, right?
Absolutely.
Hi,
All
how
right.
are you? Oh, you're
Come on
moving
in.
up. Come on in.
Oh, I'm up here.
Yeah.
We'll give you that. Speaking of champions.
Yes. How exciting. How are you, Raquel? I have to say congratulations on winning the belt. I have watched your career from day one, and I was crying watching you win your belt, you and Tasha. I'm so happy for you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you. It truly means everything.
You're welcome.
What has it been like for you, Raquel, to go through the sort of evolutionary process along with the sport? Obviously, you're growing and maturing as a fighter, but you came in at a time where the division was just finding its legs, and for you to go through this career and to realize a championship, it's got to be maybe almost more sweet to have gone through the things that you've gone through to get to this point.
It's just crazy. It's been a long journey. It's been 14 years of hard work. I remember starting this sport, and it was just one of those things where I had a hard time finding competition because it was such a male-dominant sport. I remember seeing the UFC for the first time, and it was like, I'm going to be one of the first women to ever sign, and people literally laughed in my face because that wasn't an opportunity. And what do you know? Like, I was one of the first 10 women to ever sign with the UFC. Being on the first season that they allowed women onto the Ultimate Fighter and just kind of having this journey and going, the fans in this sport can be brutal and whatnot, and there's always going to be judgment. There's always going to be that competition and everything else. But at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to fight for the world title, and most people don't get that opportunity. To have that opportunity a second time and now go out and become the 6th ever women's bantamweight champion, like, no one can ever take that away from me.
How does it feel? Does it make? Do you kind of reflect and look back at some of your struggles and the moments? And on top of that question, is this what you dreamed of when you first started fighting?
100%. Like I said, as a fighter, the ultimate goal is to fight for that shiny belt.
Right.
And, people can dream and dream and dream, and the reality is a lot of athletes won't even get that opportunity. And then, some athletes go out there, and for me, I conquered it the second time around. But a lot of athletes, they get that one shot, and they don't get to conquer it. So, just to be here, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and I'm blessed that my passion has gotten me this far, my determination, the mountains that I've had to climb. Like, I just never gave up on myself. It didn't matter what the world threw at me. It didn't matter who doubted me. Like, I believed in me, and I knew I had something in here, and I just kept going and inspiring the younger generation and, making my family proud, making myself proud. And at the end of the day, I fulfilled what's in my heart.
And you're also building the women's division and building the sport. You're helping it evolve. Like you said, you were one of the first women inside the UFC, and here we are years later, and you have really helped build the platform for women. How does that make you feel?
It's just an honor. I sit here and I reflect sometimes, and it's easy to get caught up as an athlete and forget what we've really done. So when I sit here and I just see my journey, and in life you have the idea and it's like, okay, we're going to get straight to this point. And it doesn't look like that. Like, you go around the world a million times and back. Like, I just sat here, and it was in those moments of the highest of highs and the lowest of lows that this sport can bring. It was one of those things that was just, it was really frustrating, but when I sat back and I reflected on it all, it all makes sense, and the journey has just been absolutely beautiful, and to sit here and be a trailblazer and see where this sport has grown to see what women's MMA has become. And, you have multiple divisions in the UFC now. You have other organizations with multiple women's divisions. You had Invicta, who was the only platform for women pretty much. And then now, you have kids who are starting at 5 years old, and it's going to be scary what it looks like when they're 20 years old, it's truly been such a unique experience just to be a part of it all and watch it grow.
You got a baby that's hanging out at the gym now. Can you imagine that? I don't know if you want her to fight, but if to grow up to see her moms be a part of this? Her mom's a champion. Can you imagine what that would be like?
You know, it's just crazy. A lot of people, they ask us, they're like, is Alea going to be the 2050 UFC champion? And it's like, you know, Tisha and I, we talk about it. And we're going to support her with whatever sets her heart on fire. You know, I hope she definitely turns to athletics. It's something that I've known since I was 5 years old, something that Tisha's known since she was 5 years old. But, you know, regardless of what that looks like, I personally don't want her to be a fighter.
I agree.
I would prefer not that route. But if that's something she chooses, you know, we're going to make her the best damn fighter out there. But, yeah, I mean, regardless, like, I definitely want her to learn self-defense and just truly build that confidence behind her. And, you know, we're her greatest teacher. So it's super motivating. It's motivating for me to come back to a world title fight and be a mom. You know, Tisha came back after a 2-year layoff and being a mom, and, like, the motivation is just different. And it's like, you know, it almost takes the pressure off as far as being an athlete and being out there. It's like, you know, you want to go out there and you want to conquer, but, like, it's set a different level of fun for me. Because in reality, like, I've already won in life, you know? And so just being there and being able to see my daughter and being in the biggest moment of my career and in my life, like, man, talk about a cherry on top.
Yeah, that's incredible. So we actually had Julianna Pena in here, and I'm just wondering, when are you fighting, and who do you want to fight next?
So for me, the conversation has been Julianna. It's kind of one of those things. I'm a gamer. Whoever they throw at me, I'm going to fight. I don't care. I love the challenges. Everybody brings a different challenge to the table. Julianna's been the one that I've been looking forward to for 11 years. I don't know how that fight hasn't happened this entire time.
Right.
And also being one of the women who, you know, I've worked from the ground up. I was never handed anything. And so obviously you have Kayla, who just signed. She has a huge hype train behind her. She's done things for herself. But I just don't find it fair that she comes in right away and then all of a sudden jumps the ranks. There's so many women in this division that have been working just as hard as I was, you know.
Right.
So for me, Julianna's the one that makes sense. It's the fight that I'm looking forward to the most. And we're looking at October.
October, all right.
October.
That's exciting news. I'm excited. I'm excited to see you back in there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy International Fight Week, and yeah, good luck in October if that's when it happens.
Yeah, thank you. It was great talking to you guys.
Thank you.
She is
Give Tasha a hug
bantamweight
for
champion.
me.
Thank you.
Raquel Pennington, kind enough to join us here on Extra Rounds. We'll let you go throughout your night and enjoy the Hall of Fame.
Y'all have fun.
Thank you.
There she is, Raquel Pennington, kind enough to join us here as we continue on from the UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony, just about to start, I believe, top of the hour, just a few moments away, as we are still hanging out near the red carpet. Man, I'm excited. Like, this is just night one of a long week for us here in Las Vegas, fight capital of the world, and in October for Pennington and Pena. That sounds fun. I had to actually double check before we got here today because I knew we were going to talk to Raquel, and she's right. I thought for sure that fight had been scheduled at least or
something,
but no.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool though. It's unique because both of these ladies are where they are in their careers now. So I think it'll be a fun fight.
Yeah.
For sure today. Probably a little more fun, mainly because both women are their most confident they've ever been. They're in their, you know, in their place in their careers, and so it's going to be a fun fight.
No, 100%. And you know, it's fun to hear her talk about her career the way that she is because she's already done so much, and it sounds like she's kind of like fighting for herself, and just to, you know, have the experience and enjoy it. And how liberating and freeing is that when you're the champion of the world? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we are hanging out. We're hopefully going to get one more guest as we continue. I'm not going to say the name yet. I'm going to let it be a surprise.
Ooh, is it a surprise?
Yeah, maybe. It's a surprise to them. They don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Is it a surprise to me?
I don't know.
Okay.
Has anyone said we might talk to Kayla Harrison?
I did see that, yeah.
Okay, so.
Why'd you just give up the surprise?
Oh, that was just to you. They didn't hear it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They didn't?
No.
Why do I hear it echoing?
I wonder what I could tell you that you would believe. I might figure that out. I might try to figure that out.
Oh, man, I'm kind of bummed that we didn't ask Julianna about her next fight.
Yeah, you know. The weekend's young still, or the week's young.
Yeah, maybe we'll catch her later on this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a busy schedule ourselves. I can actually show it to you. IFW going on here in Las Vegas. Take a look at your screen right now. That's what we got going on at UFC X tomorrow as well as Saturday. A full day of programming from UFC X. And, man, if you are a mixed martial arts fan and are in the area, you should head out. There are so many fighters from active top 10 guys hanging out to legends of the past. I saw Mark Coleman here a moment ago. He's hanging out, UFC Hall of Famer in his own right. It's pretty cool because this is the ultimate sport when it comes to fan experience, I think. I mean, you're not going to be able to go to the Super Bowl and shake hands with the quarterback of one of the guys that are playing on Sunday. In mixed martial arts, the UFC, you might see Alex Pereira hanging out. You might be able to shake his hand before he goes to war.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Prochazka, that's what makes this sport
I didn't
so exciting.
tell you, I actually got to shake hands with MVP this morning. He was in the gym, and I got a cool little video with
Really?
him. Yeah.
Nice.
He's cutting weight. See, you can't do that kind of stuff.
No. I mean, I probably can't do it by myself either. I probably just oh my God, it's MVP. I don't want to look him
cool.
in. Yeah,
He's cutting weight, and he's in his outfit. I'm like, can I have a video with you? Can I talk to you real quick? It was pretty cool. He was super, super game for it, too, so that was really awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. It's embedded with the fighters that the idea is you have to sort of give back because that's the culture of the sport.
Right.
It's very rare that you ever see any athlete not give time back to the fans for a photo or an autograph.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to each, sometimes I'm sure that they don't.
Sure,
but
of course.
Man, the fans are what we're here for. You
Right.
know, that's who gives us the energy in the moment in the fights and in the fights, and we feed off of them. So they're such an important role in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, there are going to be times where you can't, take every photo and sign every autograph. But I struggle to recall a time where any athlete just made it their priority to not give fans time.
Right.
It's just got to do it.
What are you wearing tomorrow?
Jeans.
Ew.
Mm-hmm. Did you say you?
Ew.
Ooh.
Yeah, ew.
Okay.
Okay.
And probably a Fight Pass
exciting.
shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I might
exciting.
bust out the red frame glasses.
Oh, that's fancy.
And I got some fancy
I like
shoes.
That. I thought you were wearing the red frames today.
Yeah, I didn't go with the tie.
Okay.
The tie wasn't red enough. But your dress? Can I borrow your dress?
Yeah, you can. No,
Oh.
you can't borrow my dress.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I can't.
No, you cannot. Absolutely not.
See, your instinct was to say, sure, whatever, yeah. But then you listen to the question like, wait, what?
No.
No.
You cannot wear my dress.
I got a really nice pair of shoes for tomorrow. Excited.
I'm very excited for that.
I thought we were going to make a big deal about my shoes today.
Yeah, what
We didn't
happened?
see-
We
I
didn't
don't
even
know.
stand up.
I stood up multiple times.
You did.
Yeah.
I guess I did too a couple times, but no one saw.
You want to stand up now?
No, I'm okay.
There's a table here.
Yeah, there is. That's what I mean. That's okay.
We're going to do some trivia or something?
When, right now?
No, not now. At the UFC X.
Yeah, let's do something.
'Cause I
No,
mean-
no, I've got arrows coming.
Arrows?
Yeah, we're shooting arrows, Nerf arrows.
That's
It's the Nerf ones.
okay. I could probably beat you in Nerf arrow archery.
Let's try.
That actually probably won't work for me. That sounds like it needs coordination.
Yeah, you do.
I might not have any.
And you need aim and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if I can do it, but it sounds really fun. I'm excited for this.
I like the idea of competition.
They talked about a beer funnel too.
That would not be good for me. Root beer funnel, maybe.
Oh God, I could not imagine taking a root beer down a funnel.
Yeah,
Oh, that would hurt my tummy forever.
maybe. Because it's carbonated. Yeah.
Yeah, that
good.
would be rough.
Is beer carbonated? Beer's carbonated, right? Or
It's
does it
not
go down
like that.
smoothly? Not like that. Yeah.
Not like that.
You said root beer.
I said beer.
No, you said root beer though. I thought you would say root beer.
Root?
Yeah, root.
Root?
Yeah, because that's how normal people say it. But people from the Midwest, we say root sometimes.
No, I definitely don't say
Do you
root.
say roof?
I say root.
Do you say roof or roof?
Roof?
I say roof.
Do you say pillow or pillow?
Pillow.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you say aunt or aunt?
Aunt?
Aunt. Okay, I say aunt.
Aunt?
It's aunt. A-U-N-T.
Do
Aunt.
you say dad or dad?
Dad.
Dad.
But my instinct is say dad. My dad. Or bag.
Bag.
Huh?
Bag.
Yeah.
Not hand.
All
Bag.
right.
All right.
Okay. Working on it. Okay, well, we'll start talking about Midwest accents.
Yeah.
We're running a little bit low on material.
Well, it was a very fun night, TJ. Who was your favorite?
Pearl
We had
Gonzalez.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know whose voice is just mesmerizing?
Who?
John Anik's voice. And the way he put his words together, that was very, very, really cool to kind of hear him talk.
It's
It
almost
was my
like he
first
could
time
get a
singing.
job doing that. you know?
Almost.
Almost.
Maybe. I don't know, TJ. I think you got him beat.
I don't think so. I think he's got the job, actually. No, I'm just hanging out with you. Which is not bad.
Oh, yeah. You
nice.
didn't make it
It's
sound
nice
too
to have you
thrilling.
back.
Okay.
Hey, it's
Jeez.
been too long.
Yeah.
Now you're back.
Yeah,
And
I'm
now you're stuck with me
excited.
all week
All week long, I can't wait.
with Nerf arrows involved, apparently.
Yes, it's going to be exciting.
All right. We're going to play like tic-tac-toe, too. Because if it's all games of coordination, I'm probably not going to win.
Are you going to win tic-tac-toe?
I will own you at tic-tac-toe.
Oh, damn. Okay, I'm a little nervous because I thought the same thing with this one guy at the gym, and he spanked me so bad in tic-tac-toe. Like, he had me beat 2 different directions. I didn't even know what the hell was going on.
All right.
So, yeah, I believe it.
I'm really good with paper, rock, scissors, too.
I lost that game, too, recently. Man, I'm just taking L's, huh?
It happens.
It does, I guess.
From time to time. All right. Are we getting our guest here? Oh, she's over there. We gotta kill more time. Tell me your favorite part about International Fight Week.
My favorite part is definitely fight night.
For good
I think
reason.
that the build-up, the hype. The other part about International Fight Week that I absolutely love is to see all the athletes and kind of get to talk to them. And you don't get to do that too often. You don't get to take a break, like you said, from the fight world and enjoy just them as people and their personalities. So I think that that's really unique and also a really cool experience for me.
It's always about the
What
fights.
about you? What's your favorite?
I like just the whole experience of UFC X because
Okay,
it's
you
just
like X?
absolute chaos. You don't know what's going to happen.
This
you
is
know?
my first time working X, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, it's fun.
Is it?
It's a ton of fun. Ton of fun.
Cool. What kind of snacks do they have?
The guys will go get you whatever you want.
Okay. But
Yeah.
there's snacks there?
There's snacks there.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a good time.
All right.
And then, we got fighters coming in and going, and there's fans that are just hanging out. You can talk to everybody.
Oh, that's awesome. I love talking.
Pretty fun.
I think you like talking a little bit too, just a tad.
Sometimes.
Okay.
I'm kind of quiet, though.
Are you?
When I can be, yeah. All right, here we go.
All
Final interview
right.
of the day. We might have saved the best for last.
Yeah.
As well. Come on in. Kayla Harrison, kind enough to join us. TJ DeSantis along with Pro Gonzalez. Press this button here.
Oh, not the hair.
I don't have that problem. I wish I did.
You look lovely.
Thank you.
Okay.
How are you?
As it gets. I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Very good. How was the red carpet experience for you?
Fun. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's my happy place.
Right.
I don't have gloves on. I'm not sweaty.
Right.
But
It's International Fight Week. It's the busiest fight week of the year for the UFC. It's fitting that you're here. We just talked to the bantamweight champion a moment ago, Raquel
Yeah.
Pennington. Obviously, you're a factor now in this UFC bantamweight division.
You're damn
Made
right I am.
a huge statement. I had the luxury of calling one of your fights earlier when you fought Courtney King, and we got to see your elbows displayed.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You may or may not have soiled my suit with her blood. But we saw those elbows again with Holly Holm, and we saw really, what a lot of people knew was a fact for a long time, that you're beyond a factor in this UFC landscape. Even though you weren't here, you're finally here. Let's hear the case. Like, you want the title fight next? Do you think you
Yeah,
deserve
of course
it?
I do.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think it's not like I'm 1-0. You
Right.
know, like I've had a ton of fights. I have 2 Olympic gold medals, which nobody else in the sport can
Right.
say.
It's true.
And now is my time. I'm the best. I know I'm the best. It doesn't matter when. It doesn't matter where. If I have to wait, I'll wait. I trust the UFC. I trust their vision. But I'm ready. And come hell or come high water, I'm going to be a UFC champion.
Sitting inactive doesn't seem like it would be something that you really want to do.
No, it's not good for me.
I mean, when is an ideal time for you to fight?
Well, I mean, whenever they give me an opponent, honestly,
Sure.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm truly blessed that I get to do what I love every day with people that I admire and respect. And it's not work, like I love it. And I'm living my dream and I'm ready to go.
This is something that I said, again, it was a long time coming for you, but was there ever a moment in time where you kind of thought, okay, maybe the UFC call doesn't come, maybe that's not a chapter in my career?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were a lot of moments in my MMA career where I had doubt or I guess just like disheartened, thought maybe this wasn't going to happen, maybe I wasn't going to get to achieve everything I wanted to achieve. But God is good, and everything is happening exactly the way it was supposed to happen, at exactly the time it was supposed to happen, and I'm ready. I'm ready for it all.
What has your experience been like with the UFC? Is it what you dreamed it would be?
It's been amazing.
Yes.
No, it really has. I mean, from, you know, the Olympics is its own beast. Like, it's the entire world, once every 4 years, 10,000 of the world's greatest athletes all coming together. But the UFC is the Olympics of MMA. You know, this from the bottom to the top, from transportation to Dana White, like everybody is so damn good at what they do, and they take great pride in doing it, and it makes it exciting and fun to be a part of this beast, you know? Like, it's an honor for me. I like to work with people who like what they do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're here tonight for the Hall of Fame. Do any of the inductees here, did they impact your career at all?
Oh, for sure. I mean, two that especially stand out. I mean, all of them legends in their own right, but two that especially stand out for me. First is Frankie Edgar. I actually met him when I was like 20 years old. I had just won a world title. I got a sponsorship deal. I had to go do a photo shoot in New York. I had never done a photo shoot before. I was like crawling out of my skin with like embarrassment and anxiety, and he was the champ at the time, like a star, and he was so kind to me, like so welcoming, and that stuck with me. And I started watching his fights. I hadn't even really watched MMA. I started watching his fights, and I was blown away. He's a beast. So for sure, I'm super happy to be here to watch him be honored tonight. And also Joanna. She was one of the first people I met when I went to American Top Team. And to see her career, like to see how she's handled it all, to bear witness to her journey, both on the mats and off the mats. She's just a truly amazing person, inspiring person, and I feel really blessed to call her friend.
Oh, that's beautiful.
No, I mean it. Oh, no, all right. Well, I do. I mean it. She is. She's like, yeah.
Did you guys work together in the room?
Well, we both worked with Mike Brown, so we would work like at the same time, but I'm a little bit bigger.
Right. That's what I was wondering. Did you guys ever work together? I mean, because you have such a different skill set than she did, especially earlier as you came in.
I mean, when I first came in, I was definitely way too big, and also she was, you know, very much at the pinnacle of her career and fighting at 115 pounds. I mean, honestly, one of the reasons I signed the contract with the UFC was because I was like, shit, if Joanna can do it, Kayla, you can do it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, she's a beast. But no, we didn't really train we trained together, but not together.
Is there, okay, so I'm going to switch subjects. Is there anybody else in your division that you'd like to face?
I mean, I'd fight them all. You know, I heard that there are a bunch of girls calling me out now, and I think that's great. I love that. And I have never said no to a fight, literally ever. So whoever they want me to fight is who I'll fight. But nobody sticks out, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, whenever it happens, we will definitely tune in.
For it. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Not happening this week, but obviously you get to be a fan. Anything you're looking forward to, part of International Fight Week?
Andre. I'm also looking forward to Shitara fighting, and I'm definitely looking forward to the main event. I got to train with Alex and teach him some judo, so let's hope he puts it to good use. Yeah, I mean, just really the whole experience, you know, getting to do the meet and greets with the fans, signing autographs, taking pictures. Like, I consider that a real honor and a big responsibility, and like, I'm just living my best life, man. Like, it's all good.
Beautiful.
Well, you deserve it. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you guys so much.
Kayla Harrison, kind enough to join us here.
Beautiful tonight. Have fun.
On Extra Rounds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care. As we shut things down here from the red carpet, UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony just about to get underway live on UFC Fight Pass. And, yeah, we've set the stage quite nicely, Pearl, for an exciting week. That will be International Fight Week as we close things down here from inside T-Mobile. Live tomorrow. Let's take a look real quick at our schedule. If you want to come out to UFC X, we are there both Friday and Saturday. Jam-packed stuff going down there, so come hang out if you can. And bear witness to Pearl Gonzalez trying to either hurt me through a game that shouldn't hurt me or drilling soccer kicks. Fun business. Can't wait for it.
Oh, man.
What did I do?
Nothing.
I did something. I had to have done something.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
No, oh, yeah, you did. You started out saying you couldn't get rid of me. That's what you did. It's exactly
Steve wrote that part of the monologue.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Blame Steve.
No, Steve did not.
Okay. You're right. All right. We'll pick this up tomorrow. at UFC.
See you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, come hang out.
Ciao.
For Pro Gonzalez, I'm TJ DeSantis. This has been Extra Rounds here in Las Vegas. Enjoy the Hall of Fame ceremony. Start now on UFC Fight Pass. Hollywood fight night, jiu-jitsu,